wish I could freestyle. I wish I could freestyle. Wish I could freestyle. Damn, I wish I could freestyle. Wish I could freestyle. Wish I could freestyle. Wish I could freestyle. I can improv. It ain't the same thing. It ain't the same thing. It's not the same thing. Folks, we were just enjoying how dope our new intro sounds, but we got that out the way. Welcome to another edition of Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ. I'm JD.
I'm AJ.
And tonight we're going to be doing something a little different from you. It is exactly 1 week away from Christmas, and we thought we'd try something a little different for you.
Give them a present.
A little present.
Yeah.
Now, our main collaboration together is as screenwriters. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we're basically going to have a live pitch session of different concepts, and we're going to hash them out together as writers and kind of see what would be a good direction for said scenario. It could be some weirdo shit like we've been mentioning the What If series on Marvel. We're going to be doing some what if scenarios for you guys tonight.
But they're all based around primarily classic 1980s, 1990s productions or properties rather. And I guess part of what got this going, because we have to, give a shout out to the questions episode. Well, it was that Back to the Future prompt really got me thinking about it.
Right.
We were talking about how did Doc Brown and Marty meet. We started having all that fun, kind of playing around with it. And then what we talked offline. Well, and then even before that, Sexual Chocolate, right?
That's right.
Randy Watson and Sexual Chocolate that I'd written forever ago and I sent to you. And anyway, we thought this would be an interesting direction to take it.
Yeah. And I read a little bit of it and I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty fun idea. So, like I said, we're going to go through that tonight and we're going to brainstorm different ideas, see how they sound, and like I said, you folks can let us know what your feedback is on it. I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it. But first off, we're going to get into some of our regular segments. Now, first off, we're going to go with our first sponsor, which will be Belsaverse, located on Facebook and Instagram. Belsaverse is pretty much becoming a home for pop culture for many patrons on those particular sites.
For those that are smart and in the know.
Exactly. So there's a Belsaverse group on Facebook. There's also a Belsaverse page on Facebook, and there is a Instagram Belsaverse page. Like I said, we're getting a lot of followers, getting a lot of momentum. Like I said, the Belsaverse website is still in the works. And
I
also,
heard something about that.
Stop. The Belsaverse website is in the works. And also, we still have merchandise to be sold on basically on teespring.com. If you go to the Belsaverse store, you can get yourself some Belsaverse merch. Get it before, it becomes, passe and everybody starts to get it. You know what I'm saying? So, really, I think it'd be a really good little gift for the holidays. Like I said, we got 1 week left, literally, before Christmas. So, get somebody in your family something special, something fun, And also, up until New Year's, we have a promotion code going on right now. If you type in Belser85, BELSER 85, you get 20% off of all apparel on the teespring.com Belsaverse page. So, like I said, go ahead and get yourself some Belsaverse merch. Great conversation starter, so it helps out the show, And we also have another sponsor here.
Well, that's an incredible value.
That's right.
I have to point that out before we even think about talking about U.S. hookers or anything thereof. Mm-hmm. But speaking of which, we do have ushooker.com is also supporting us. They're an awesome source if you want to learn about rugby, if you want to wear rugby around. We're only 6 weeks away from kickoff season 2020, the third season for Major League Rugby. Massive signings announced. We're bringing over some guys from the South African team to play for the Old Glory in D.C. It's going to be a fantastic year, so get in on that sport because as soon as football ends, rugby begins. And you're going to want to have some gear so that you can show that you're in the know, learn a little bit more. I mean, honestly, I grew up playing football, but I had a bunch of guys on my team that were a bunch of Samoan guys, all about the All Blacks. They taught me about rugby. I fell in love. It's super simple to learn, and it's like going from boxing to MMA. You'll never turn back.
U.S. Hooker.
USHooker.com. And it does have our sense of humor mixed into a lot of the shirts, so go for it.
Yeah, man. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first segment, which is more timely than ever right now. 7 Degrees of Eddie Murphy. Why do I say it's so timely? Because this coming weekend, this Saturday night, Eddie Murphy returns to SNL to host and for the first time in well over 30 years. I think
time.
The last time he hosted was like 1984, and I was like,
did he attend the 40th anniversary?
He attended it, but
he didn't. I know he didn't participate.
Yes,
he was there. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, but like I said, it's more timely than ever right now, and basically what we're gonna do is like go ahead and pick out some stars. We're gonna connect them to Mr. Eddie Murphy within 7 movies or less. Like I said, it's a variation of.
I got 2 in mind. I'm gonna start off some I think probably be a little easier. Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy himself.
Fluffy. Oh wow, Fluffy.
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 He's done enough movies. You should be able to connect him.
Yeah, actually, I can.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of one right now.
All right, which way are we gonna go?
Where we're gonna go? You know what? We're gonna go. Fluffy was in Magic Mike with Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash was in The Longest Yard with Chris Rock. Chris Rock was in Boomerang with Eddie Murphy.
That's not the way I thought you were gonna go, but that was good enough.
Kevin Nash.
I figured you were probably gonna go through. What was that? Oh shoot, I'm blanking on the name of it. What was that movie with all the male strippers?
Magic Mike.
Yeah.
That's
is that what you said right
exactly
now? I
what
thought you
said.
said Scary Movie. I'm sorry.
No, Magic Mike. That's exactly what I said.
Well, yeah, of course you would do it through Magic Mike. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You've kind of worn that DVD out.
Yes.
From what I recall.
I wore out my Magic Mike DVD. You know what I'm saying? Lips
See, here I was getting all mixed up.
Lips or hips, man. Okay, all right, so we got that one. Give me another one.
Well, I've been thinking about Robert Duvall for a while. I think that one might be slightly more challenging, possibly. Oh, shoot, no, it's not. That'll be easy. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it.
I think you could probably do it in 3.
I could do it in 1.
You could do it in 1?
Yeah, Robert Duvall was in Godfather 2 with Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was in Showtime with Eddie Murphy.
That's 2. That was the way I thought. Because you have to start with the 1 to get to the 2.
Okay,
right?
So 2. All right, fine.
Right?
Either way, I got it.
Because otherwise it'd be like going like Ben Stiller and you'd be like, yeah, Tower Heist. Right? Something like that. All right, well... Jeez. All right, Aubrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburn?
Yeah.
I think we've done this before.
Did we do Audrey? I don't remember doing Audrey.
Audrey Hepburn. Okay, I admit I had to look up Audrey Hepburn. I don't know.
You know what? We did because you went Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Okay, so somebody else. I knew it sounded familiar.
See, it's when I try to go deep when it gets thrown. Okay, Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can get there pretty quick off of that one too, I think.
Let's see, Peter Fonda.
I can give you one other name and you'll get there really quick. This is dead air.
No. This ain't dead air. No. I want to make sure I get the proper thing here. That one. Okay. Might not be what you were going for, but I found one. Peter Fonda was in Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage was in... Yeah, I'm going this route. All right, Nicolas Cage was in...
Nicolas Cage was in everything.
I'm gonna get it. Shut up. I'm gonna get it. Okay, Nicolas Cage was in Face Off with John Travolta. John Travolta was in fucking... Look Who's Talking with Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was in Die Hard with a Vengeance with Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson was in Coming to America with Eddie Murphy.
There you go. So you know the way I would have thought you would have gone? Uh-huh. You can get there through Jack Nicholson. You just do Easy Rider. That's probably Peter Fonda's best known film, especially people.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of through Jack though. Okay, you do it then. Okay, so you said you suggested Jack. Like, go for it.
Well, if you're gonna do Jack, then probably go over to Adam Sandler in Anger Management. Adam Sandler was in The Longest Yard with Chris Rock. Chris Rock, Boomerang. That's the way I would have gone.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Because Jack definitely did a lot more poppy stuff, especially later on, whereas like Peter Fonda was always more the indie guy. like with the exception of Ghost Rider, of course. But like, I mean, and I'm saying '90s stuff because like his earlier stuff was, I mean, pop culture as hell, right?
Right.
And in fact, that's the same reason why. Oh shoot, what's his name? Damn it, his name just flew out of my brain. Dennis Hopper. That's the same reason I haven't done Dennis Hopper, because I figured you'd get there through Jack Nicholson as well, because Easy Rider's just got so much.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you go, like we were talking before about Fear and Loathing. There are so many big stars who were in that film that started out small, like Mark Harmon. I like the way Peter keeps saying it in Family Guy. But Mark Harmon, like, just for one, I mean, you literally, Cameron Diaz, you just go down the list. There were so many huge stars in Fear and Loathing that was like the nexus for connecting to anybody, including Eddie.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah. All right, so we got, let's see what we get. Oh, we got Peter Fonda, and we also got, what's the other one? Robert Duvall. Okay, so we got those two. Okay, so we knocked those out.
Well, and we did Fluffy, too.
And we did Gabriel.
I mean, that was good. And he's not done that much.
No, he hasn't.
So,
no.
But I was impressed how quickly he got there. I thought it was going to take longer.
That's what's up, man. All right, so we're going to go ahead and switch over to our next segment. WWBS. What would Busey say? We improvising the musings of Mr. Gary Busey.
Well, with all the interesting stuff happening in the world and our country today, I thought I would take something that's far less political, and I would ask Mr. Busey, what would he say about Canadians?
Okay. I'm sorry, this is a funny subject.
Is that a good prompt?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Canadians. I love me some Canadians, I tell you right now. There's so many of them. I mean, there's the funny ones, like you got your Jim Carreys, you got your Dan Aykroyds, you know, you got your, but then you got your more serious ones. You got your William Shatners. I always love Shatner. He's Canadian, you know. But then you got your really hot ones, like your Pamela Andersons, your Trish Stratus for you WWE fans, yeah. Or I like them dark, too. You ever heard of a video vixen named Melissa Ford? You ever heard of her? She is hot, man, and she's Canadian. Canadian, bruh. Yeah, I was a big fan of SCTV, so I love all those Canadian people. Martin Short, Rick Moranis, Eugene Levy. Yeah, Canadians. But there's so much love. There's so much wonderful things about Canada. Also, big wrestling fan, Bret the Hitman Hart is from Canada. Yeah, all the Hart family. I'm all big fans of those. Everything about Canada I love. Hockey, Canadian bacon, Molson beer. I really love Molson beer. It's like mother's milk to me. It really is. Oh my God. You know, I wish I could move up to Canada. I probably could, but you know, there'd be a lot of implications. I do have a lot of I won't say illegal activity, because that would just put me out there. But I have friends up in Canada. I think it won't be kosher for me to be up there for the next 20, 30 years. I'm just saying. Canada, tiger blood. How's that?
He liked Canada more than I thought he would.
Busey loves Canada.
So I was kind of thinking he might go a little more like Ron Swanson. Dear Canada, fuck you.
No, Busey likes Canada.
And so we learned. I see what I'm looking for, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm trying to find what it is that the Busey hates.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing too. Like, we really look at Busey. There's not a lot that he goes off on that he hates. He actually really is a pretty positive guy, even for all the craziness.
Yeah, he pretty much is. But I'm pretty sure, like, you'll find a subject matter that he just cannot stand. We'll get there eventually. We'll get there. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, the Busey is as the Busey does.
Busey is
as Busey does.
That's another damn shirt right there.
All right, now let's get to another favorite segment here on the show, which we named last week, Droppin' That News. I wish we had some kind of news prompt.
I just settled for a coffee mug like back in the 80s, full of scotch. Scotch.
I love scotch. Now, as I announced before when we were doing the Eddie Murphy segment, Eddie Murphy does return to Saturday Night Live for the first time in 30-plus years. This coming Saturday night. Him and his musical guest is Lizzo. who's been in the news a lot lately for some some unsavory behavior. But she is the musical guest, and it'll be the last original show of the year.
I'm so shocked.
Right. But yeah, like I said, this is a big thing, man. They're doing the promotions for it right now. You know, Eddie's back, man. Like a lot of people, you know, getting to the point where they, you know, didn't really know Eddie Murphy, like in terms of like how he did on SNL, because that's where he started. That's what really, you know, broke him out into the public eye.
It's all these damn kids with no eye on history.
And like a lot of people don't realize, that show probably would have been canceled if not for Eddie Murphy.
Well, there's been multiple times in SNL's history where it probably should have been canceled, save for an amazing cast comes in out of nowhere. I know a lot of people like to trash on some of the guys in the 90s, the Chris Farleys, the David Spades, but they're wrong.
Yes,
they're just wrong.
They're absolutely wrong.
Now, look, Andy Samberg, he's the only one that I can think of in the last little while that I think's had some really good breakout success. As far as like sketches from the show that were really solid standalone.
Well, I would have to argue on that point with Kate McKinnon.
Which, give me one.
Okay, one recurring skit that she has is like she plays like this redneck getting abducted by aliens, like at random times. They bring the skit back because it's so fucking funny, because it's basically her just improvising as this redneck and talking about like she's always talking about like vaginal things and like things that the aliens do to her in terms of like probing her. So like they're touching on my cute suit and my butter cutter. Like she
okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious, bro.
All right, so I'll watch that because I haven't seen that one. Yeah. The last one that anyone actually, here's what I'll say. The last one anyone sent me, because I got, you know this, you and I have talked about it before. I got really bummed out and kind of off SNL back when it was a Lindsay Lohan. This is like fucking forever ago in college.
Oh, the Debbie Downer thing?
The Debbie Downer one, when they're all breaking and they think it's funny, and it wasn't funny, and I was just like, if you guys aren't going to take, because for me, just like you and I have talked about, stand-up comedy, improv comedy in general, it's serious business. Yeah. And if you're going to ask for my attention, take it seriously. You should have fun, but take it seriously.
Yeah, but...
and that's why I was giving it like to Andy, like, because the last thing anyone sent me that was like a cutout standalone that I thought was funny, today's going to be a great day. You remember that one?
Yes, I do. That was like the first one, like... Don't worry about that.
They're using artillery on us.
Yeah, they're using artillery. You in the hood, goddamn. So, but like I said, yeah, for real. But to counter that point, like I said, I think she's been doing a lot of great stuff. Like they keep bringing back that alien abduction thing because she keeps breaking the host. The host is always in it. It's like some other redneck that gets abducted, and she's always killing the host. Like I think the one that like set the precedent was Ryan Gosling, and that shit went viral.
All right, well, I'll pull it up and I'll watch it. But anyway, back to the point of what we were saying. That's just the way it goes with SNL. It ebbs and flows. It's going, and then it kind of rolls down. It goes, and then it kind of rolls down. And that's how, I mean, like, because you got to look at, like, I think the biggest problem is there's nobody that's competing with them anymore.
True.
Like, you had the Mad TV segment for a while. Prior to that, you had what was going on with FX and Living Color, right, and all that stuff, Fox and all that. And then even to some extent, lesser extent, Whitest Kid You Know and some of these other internet things that are going out
Key
there.
and Peele, et cetera, et cetera.
And then Key and Peele and Chappelle, I mean, that's a whole nother level because it's not live. Yeah.
And actually, funny enough, SNL is the only show. Yes, we are on an artillery field right now, apparently.
Being shelled.
Yeah, for real. But SNL but SNL is the only sketch comedy show around that has skits from SCTV and Living Color and Chappelle Show. They've all been done on SNL.
This is true.
Yeah, so, but going back to Eddie, like the whole story of how Eddie got discovered when he was like 19 years old. He had the record for years as the youngest cast member to ever be on SNL at 19 years old. That was broken like a couple years later by Anthony Michael Hall. He was 17 when he got cast. Didn't do nothing, but he was 17. He
was there.
He was there, yeah.
Participation trophy.
But yeah, like I said, there's so many black people went in for that particular part. It's like Eddie was talking about it in like his inside there at the studio. There's like people from Broadway, different stand-up comedians. The actual choice that they wanted to go with when Eddie got first cast was fucking Robert Townsend. That's what they wanted.
Really?
Yeah, because he's funny, but he was safe. You know what I'm saying?
Too safe.
Way too safe. But
too safe for SNL.
Yeah, and actually the producer at that time, because like all the original people had left, Lauren Michaels, Bill Murray, all those people, they had left, and they brought in a new crew headed by a lady named Jean Demanian, who really hasn't done anything else since then. But she headed up that show, and she cast a bunch of new people, and Eddie was one of them, and she didn't want Eddie. And she didn't think he was funny. She didn't think he was good enough for the show, and she thought he was way too young. But everybody else around her was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Pick this kid."
And then buttweet happens.
Yeah, no. She did. What happened was she picked him, but she made him what they call a featured player, which means like she's like
he wasn't like a regular cast.
Yeah,
member.
he might be like in the background of a skit. You know what I'm saying? They might give him a word, a line here and there, but whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Just making him the kind of like the token of the show, or whatever. But cream rises to the top. They put him on like the one skit that they had him do, which was a current skit, was that he would be on a Weekend Update as an angry black dude named I think Raheem Abdul Muhammad. And he would just go on these tangents about different subject matter, and he was getting the biggest laughs. It got to the point where people were like, "Hey, we like that guy. Give us more of that guy." And then he started getting the regular shit like fucking the buckwheats and all that shit. To the point where he is actually the first ever SNL cast member to go from featured player to regular in his first season. He's the first person to ever do that. And like I said, he was only 19. And like and then like I said, after that, actually, Gene Demanian got fired because the season was so bad. Yeah. Eddie was the only shining light. Him and Joe Piscopo were the only shining lights of the initial season he was on there. And they had some decent people on there. They had Charles Rocket, who passed away. He was in Dumb and Dumber. He was the bad guy in Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. And Gilbert Gottfried was on there, and a couple other people. But yeah, they got rid of all of them. It's like actually Eddie was the first one to get the news of it. He's like he went to Joe. He's like, "Hey, so you and me are safe. Gene Manning got fired. Everybody else is gone." The only people they kept from that whole first season that Eddie was on,
which is what they should have done,
was Eddie and Joe. And then after that, Dick Ebersol took over, and Dick Ebersol is one of the people instrumental in getting SNL on the air in the first place. So he took over as executive producer, and then it became the Eddie Murphy Show in an indirect way until Eddie actually said it. So yeah, he pretty much became the star of the show,
which you schooled me on way back when. What episode, like 2? Because I had it backwards. I always thought it was Chevy Chase, but that was a completely different story. It's the Eddie Murphy Show.
Funny enough, all the old school seasons are on Hulu. I've been watching them for like the last few days, and whenever they would do the intros, like "Hey, starring such and such" or whatever, Eddie always got the biggest pop.
Yep.
Eddie Murphy, they go nuts, and Joe Piscopo to get required.
Just be back there, just
and then we were thinking about this, like I know they're gonna bring back certain skits. I know how SNL does in recent years, like when certain big stars come on there, if they have like a huge menagerie of characters.
They'll revive.
No, what they're gonna do is they have a sketch called the Family Reunion, where like said star goes to a family reunion, and all the family members are the cast members playing his characters. Like they did it with Jim Carrey. They did it recently with Adam Sandler. Yeah, so I'm guessing they're probably gonna do the same thing with Eddie Murphy.
They better. And there's also a lot of characters.
And there's also one skit they really need to do with Eddie, and my opinion is the best skit they have like in the last few years. Black Jeopardy. Their Black Jeopardy has been killing it. Fucking Black Jeopardy with Eddie Murphy has to happen. And I know they're gonna be doing like Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood because of the whole. There's a big thing about Mr. Rogers right now. You know, the movie is coming out and the documentary they just had like within the last year. Yeah, so Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood is a given. He's gone on record saying he wants to bring back Gumby and Velvet Jones, and so I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do, man.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah,
I haven't watched an entire episode of SNL since that Debbie Downer incident.
Wow.
I've seen sketches here and there, but they haven't been able to get me. I will sit down for Eddie.
They've had generations of people since then.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
it was that upsetting to me.
Wow.
Because I used to be religious about that shit.
Yeah.
I remember I watched season 1 when I was like 15, maybe 14, and I was just like, oh my gosh, because I'd grown up watching mostly like. Honestly, like in Living Color, reruns on FX all the time, Mad TV, all that stuff, Fire Marshal Bill.
Yeah.
Dude, I went to school one year. Don't get it twisted. I didn't go in blackface, but I went as Homie the Clown.
Okay, good.
I'm not that stupid.
I'm very happy you clarified that.
Even at 10, I was smart enough to know that's not a good idea. Justin Trudeau in Canada, no, dude, you were way too fucking old for that shit. I knew at 10 that was a bad idea. If you want to be it, be Homie the Clown. but come on.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love stand-up comedy, or stand-up comedy and improv comedy. Like, that's my jam. So I was religious. Every Saturday, I was sitting down watching SNL until they burned me.
Gotcha. But also, another fun fact about Eddie. Eddie is the first and to date only cast member to ever host the show while still a cast member. Nobody else has ever done that.
Oh, shit, that's right.
He's the only one that's ever done that.
Well, it's because it was so close with his big breakout and everything. I forget that.
He was already the biggest star on the show, and then 48 Hours had just come out, and it was a huge hit.
Because normally, and it's because it's so weird, because normally once they have their movie breakouts, they leave the show. Like, I mean, Chevy was gone after the first year.
Yeah.
Right? Because he started getting the movies and all that stuff, and so he was a breakout, and so... Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot that about Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie had...
He was still on.
No, Eddie had 48 Hours, Trading Places, and the first beginning of Beverly Hills Cop while still on the show. Okay, so...
you know what? And that's good. That speaks very highly of Eddie, that he didn't just bail on him.
No, he he knew where his bread was buttered. He's like a young guy. Yeah, he got a couple of movies.
It's smart from a business standpoint, but it's also like it's an honorable thing because it's like, I mean, he's still dancing with who brung him, right? I mean, that's how he got there. So he gave them more than what they really would do.
So the story of him hosting was that he is actually supposed to be Nick Nolte. But as we are well aware, Nick Nolte has some substance abuse issues.
Really?
And it was right. And apparently was too inebriated to host. So they quickly made an audible, and they got Eddie because of the fact that they were in 48 Hours together. So it's like we got, and then
trade one for the other.
He actually
producer's still happy.
I remember he says it in his monologue. He's like, so Nick Nolte was supposed to come here and host tonight. Yeah, he's such a good guy, I mean, it's the kind of guy he was. You can say that, but he came to the show and then he vomited on my shirt. So Nick is too sick to do the show. Now I know you folks tune in to see one of the stars of 48 Hours host the show, and you're going to see one because I'm a host the show. And then he busts out with the line again, made it a controversial line, live from New York. It's the Eddie Murphy Show.
Well, he was big enough to get away with it.
Yeah, and then I remember the musical guest was Lionel Richie. It was a weird... I watched that show. It was a weird show. And then at the very end, when Eddie's doing his monologue, you get a surprise appearance from Steve Martin. He's like, wait a minute. He does some shit like, I was supposed to host a show. Like, I heard somebody got on the show. I usually come in and host the show because he had hosted so many times. Yeah. Like, I usually come in, well, they couldn't call me. Well, excuse me. And he just walks away. It's really funny. And just sitting there like looking at this fool. It's really funny to watch, man. And,
no, it's great. It's worth going back to watch all those old SNLs.
That's why I'm so happy I got Hulu because I can watch all the old stuff, and I really love it. I'm digging it, man.
Well, and seeing what, as long as we're talking on the news side, because Disney's starting to release numbers as far as what people are watching, it jives with exactly what you're saying. The most important thing in the streaming wars, just for a quick little business segue here, it's library. It's content library.
Oh, yes.
That's what's making it or breaking it. Because people like you and me, I'll watch new stuff. I like new stuff. Yeah. But I love my favorite old stuff.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to watch it 5-6 times.
I told you. I'm
going to drive my wife nuts.
Oh, my God, dude. Like, I'm actually... Like I said, between SNL, I'm watching SNL and like old Bond movies. Yeah. I was actually watching The Living Daylights before you came over.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Back to my Timothy Dalton thing.
Yeah. Which you still are going to have some explaining to do.
I don't give a fuck. All right, so we got the Eddie thing out of the way. Eddie's coming out this Saturday. Go watch it. I know I am.
And I'm making my return for the first time in...
To watch
almost 15 years.
To watch, yeah, it's
been a minute.
It's hands down going to be the highest rated show they've done at least all year. It's very much so.
Possibly longer than that.
Well, the Dave Chappelle show was pretty highly rated too, so that was a really good show.
Yeah, but see, what you're going to get with this that you didn't get with Dave Chappelle is you'll get some of the younger guys like us that are comedy fans who followed it back for Chappelle, but you're going to get our parents coming back for Eddie.
That's true. I'll give you that. Okay, so since you brought up Disney Plus and all the streaming stuff, it was announced a while back that Marvel's going to be doing some Disney Plus shows on Disney Plus, and they're going to be going into the another section of the MCU. Now, one of the shows they recently announced, in like a little bunch of shows that that was like just brought up out of nowhere, was She-Hulk. Basically the comic book adventures of the Incredible Hulk's cousin, Jennifer Walters, who the origin story was that she was a lawyer. She was working on this big mob case. Her cousin Bruce visits her while he's on the run just to see her because he misses her. She gets gunned down. She gets gunned down, and he brings her to a hospital. But unfortunately, her injuries are so grave that she requires a blood transfusion from a known relative. And he is the only one in the vicinity, so he gives her a transfusion of his gamma-irradiated blood, and she becomes a female version of the Incredible Hulk. Initially the Savage She-Hulk, which became the Sensational She-Hulk. And the comic book itself was revolutionary because of the fact it was one of the first comic books where the character, just like Moonlight, like we talked about last week, one of the character who actually talked to broke the fourth wall and talked to the actual reader. She-Hulk was one of the first ones to do that. So it was very innovative in that particular thing. Now, in terms of actresses that they have in mind for She-Hulk, now this has been corroborated by several sites. The front runner right now, and I'll give you a guess. Name the only female UFC Hall of Famer.
Natalie Portman.
You're close. Ronda Rousey.
Yeah,
Ronda Rousey. Apparently, she's the front runner right now.
She's too tiny
to play She-Hulk. She is the front runner.
I mean, look, she's got a great personality, a hell of a fighter. I'd never want to go up against her at all. No. But China. I mean, if she wasn't dead.
I just want to say no.
It needs to be somebody who's built more like her. You need the size.
Actually, she did do She-Hulk, but not in the way you would think. Okay. I don't really want to go into that on this podcast, but she has played She-Hulk, just not in the kind of videos that are appropriate for children.
Okay.
I
mean, actually, but here's the thing. See, if you're going to
do, and I actually watched it. It was crazy.
I'm sure you did. If we're gonna do this whole She-Hulk thing, though, you've got one or two ways you can go. Right? You can go the Lou Ferrigno. This is when you turn into the Hulk side of things, where it's exaggerated, but it's not over the top. It's more realistic, like the old TV show. I don't get the casting of Ronda Rousey, because if you're going to do it the other way, right, then it becomes like the Mark Ruffalo, where then you turn into the animated character. And again, maybe she's a great actress and I haven't seen it, but I don't get the value of having somebody who's like known for beating people's asses, who's not gigantic, playing this character that goes from being a normal, like Ed Norton looking kind of a person to like this beast.
Yeah.
That's where I get a little lost on it.
But like I said, she's the front runner right now. They just announced it recently.
Has she been doing UFC?
No, she was on the WWE for about a year, and she actually made history this past year.
She should stick in the WWE.
She did really well, actually. She's the first woman ever to headline. Being the main event of a WrestleMania. She's the first one. Her, chick named Becky Lynch, and Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte Flair.
She should stick in there. I think that's a good spot for her.
Yeah, she did great, actually. She, like I said,
There's good money in that.
Yeah, great money for her.
Is she heel?
She what?
Is she playing a heel?
She kind of was like what they call a tweener. She was supposed to be a good guy, but she had heelish tendencies. Like she would do like bad shit or talk bad about the fans and shit like that, and it would come across. But like either way,
didn't The Rock kind of play the edge of that for a while back when he was
a lot of people did that, especially during the 90s. Like Stone Cold was that too. Like good guy, but at the same time he'll whoop your ass like with a heartbeat and don't trust nobody, that kind of shit. So she did that a little bit, but like she actually has kind of like she actually broke her hand during the WrestleMania match. She's been healing off of that, and also she's made it clear that she wants to start a family with Travis Brown, her husband. So they were trying to do that for like the last year, and also most recently they have the show Total Divas on E for the WWE.
I heard about that.
Yeah, for the WWE females. And
did you watch any of that?
I've watched it. Yes.
Is it good?
It's okay. It's not bad. It's better than most of the other shows on E. Plus, it gives you a behind the scenes of the WWE, which I like.
Is Soup still on there?
Talk
Soup, whatever it was?
I don't think so.
That was the only show I ever watched.
Total Divas is the only things I watch on this show.
I only ever watched
I watch Botched just like for like the bad boob jobs. That's about it. But like other than that, that was all I watch. But yeah, she's the front runner right now, so we'll see how that works out. And yesterday, the 17th of December, was the 30th anniversary of the very first Simpsons episode.
One of my all-time favorites. What's your favorite episode?
My favorite episode ever? Well, I can't really ask like one episode, but Every year, I know I watch one episode every year. Treehouse of Horror. I've watched it every year since the first one, and that's the one religious Simpsons show that I watch every year. But I love their parodies of different horror movies. My favorite one of those is The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining was pretty good.
The Shining with groundskeeper Willie. Hey,
don't
boy,
you mean The Shining?
Hey boy, you read my folks? You got the Shining. You mean shiny? Shh. You trying to get sued? Look, when your dad goes gaga, use that shin of yours, and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time. They actually had me rolling. They also had the most recent one. They actually did a double one this year. They did a regular Treehouse of Horror, and they also did another one for Thanksgiving.
I didn't see the Thanksgiving one.
Yeah, they did another one. This is the first time they've ever done 2 Treehouse of Horrors in 1 year.
You know, I will say my favorite episode, it's an old episode, but I like it more and more the longer I work behind the scenes and, like, you know, all the shit that we do in Hollywood and everything. Mm-hmm. There's this episode where Bart becomes Krusty the Clown's assistant.
Yeah.
And when he starts off, he's standing back behind stage next to this grip or like a Teamster or something, and he goes, wow, we're the luckiest people in the world. And the Teamster goes, I wish I was dead. And then he's going through all this stuff. He's trying to show people his name in the credits, and like he can't even read it because it's going on the TV too fast. And like, you know, the bullies are beating him up and everything. And by the end of the episode, some kid's like, wow, do you really work with Krusty the Clown? He goes, I wish I was dead. Oh,
wow. So it really got to him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Well, but that's what was great about it, because it was so spot on.
Yes, it was, yeah. All right. If I had to put down to one episode, I forgot the name of the episode, but it was when what's his name? Sideshow Bob married Bart's aunt.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then tried to kill her, and then Bart actually ends up solving the case. Like, yeah, he's trying to kill you to get some insurance or something like that.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, and Sideshow Bob, and put some away. That probably would be my favorite singular Simpsons episode.
Well, and there's so much to choose from. And I got to say, I know a lot of people, it was mixed reviews as far as the movie goes. I was actually pretty happy with it overall.
It was okay.
It was decent.
Didn't blow me away. Another thing, since we're talking about movies, the biggest movie that's coming out actually this weekend, it comes out tomorrow, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Now, I'm one of those social media type people where I like to go on like, different sites or whatever and YouTube channels just to kind of get a feel of what the movie's going to be from like different other YouTubers and people like that. People whose opinion I actually do agree with. Like, there's only a few that I subscribe to. And like usually because of the fact they have really good opinions about these type of things. Mm-hmm. And the overall opinion of the movie has been negative.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
Yeah, like a lot of people were like, "This is it. This shit. this is the culmination of 9 movies."
Well, at a certain point, I think every filmmaker who touches the Star Wars franchise has to make Return of the Jedi. or Attack of the Clones.
Just that one shit movie.
Or The Phantom Menace.
I'm about to say.
Like, at a certain point, they can't all be home runs. The fact that they had as many as they have that have gone so well, and that The Mandalorian is doing so well.
Yeah.
What do you expect? I mean, there's not enough talent to go around.
Speaking of which, the last episode just came out. Well, the next episode came out. The penultimate episode came out today on it, and I believe the next episode comes out Friday for the season finale of the Mandalorian, and it looks good. Like the episode they showed tonight was really, really good. So that's the one thing about Star Wars this year that I know for a fact is good is the Mandalorian. That I've enjoyed every single episode of that show so far, and freaking like I said, it's really one of the few original shows that I'm digging right now. And I actually just got into Watchmen now, so I'm going to be watching that, binge watching that. That one just had its season finale, and a lot of people telling me it's mind blowing. I'm on the first episode, and I'm loving it, so I'm gonna get through that. Good. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of it. Oh yeah, also they just released a first look at the new Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted 3. Bill and Ted Face the Music.
They're definitely. I mean, they're showing their age more.
Yeah, they are. They're embracing their age, man. They're both in their 50s now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a long time since the last Bill and Ted movie. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
They're still looking like they're playing the same characters.
And the thing about it is, I love the Bill and Ted movies, man.
It's almost like a sequel version of like Encino Man or something.
Yeah. And pretty much the whole basis of this is because, like, and if you remember the old movies, Bill and Ted were supposed to be these like musical saviors of the universe, but I think this goes into like kind of an alternate timeline where they did not achieve that great musical success that they thought they would, and now they have to face the music. You know what I'm saying? And they actually, brought back Death from the second one. William Sadler. Yeah, they brought Death back. I found the pictures of that. Death is back.
Yeah,
and is a character playing the daughter of George Carlin's character. You remember Rufus?
Oh yeah.
Well, Rufus has since passed away, but like they have a character to play his daughter, telling Bill and Ted that y'all need to get y'all shit together. Y'all supposed to be the saviors and you're not. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so they got that. They showed the first couple pictures like a day or two ago, and like I said, both Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves still look great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 30 plus years later, but they still look great.
I mean, they look a lot better than I'm going to look in 30 years, I'm guessing.
Exactly, yeah. Keanu still
I don't even have as much hair as I had 5 years ago.
Keanu is almost 60 years old. He looks like at least like 30, 32 at most.
Well, having a couple, $100 million to do that for you.
Yeah, and then plus he's like half Asian, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Asian don't crack, man. I'm just saying. All right, so we got...
Good genetics is good genetics,
Good genetics is good genetics, bro. And also, this is one announcement that I found really interesting. 50 Cent is going to be producing an animated superhero show based on this one concept of pretty much hip-hop remixes of DC Comics characters, which I thought was really, really dope. Now, if you're a big fan of like comics and hip hop like myself, they usually come out with like variants of different covers or like variants of different characters in both Marvel and DC. In recent years, they did a bunch of them for Marvel, where basically they did like remixes of like classic hip hop covers, but with Marvel characters. Like they've done ones with like like the Nas cover, they did like the Public Enemy cover, the Machiavelli cover, Tupac cover, Biggie cover, with like superheroes and shit. And it looks great. So this is going to be a whole squad of actual like, DC remixes. So it's going to be a hip-hop Green Lantern. There's going to be a hip-hop
I think it's
Batman.
A killer idea.
Yeah. And the name of the actual group is the Trill League. And Trill, for those of you who don't know, is a Southern thing for like, this is dope. This is Trill. You know what I'm saying? That's just another one of those hip hop words.
I'm hopeful this is going to go a lot better than his foray into feature films.
Yeah.
This is just a little too campy.
He had there was a weird announcement. Thank you for bringing that up. There was a weird announcement I remember years ago where they're saying that they were trying to do a remake of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Forrest Whitaker and 50 Cent.
I know.
And I remember, and I remember that persisted for a while. It was around for a while. It was like Forrest Whitaker turning into 50 Cent with some magical potions. So he's gonna be like a portly scientist, humble little scientist, and then this buffed out thug, probably a murderous thug because it's it's supposed to be Mr. Hyde. So yeah. So all his bad and seriously probably be fucking bunch of bitches, killing folks, just all the bad black stereotypes as Mr. Hyde. But yeah, I remember
it's
that.
Better that it didn't get made.
Yeah, but this actual show is going to be on the new streaming service Quibi. And,
okay.
Yeah, and
the Quibi.
Quibi or Quibi or whatever.
Quibi.
That's it.
Yeah. I think. I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, funny enough, I actually had an audition for them a couple days ago for some other show they're doing, and I saw the executive producers. They had some big names like Howie Mandel, Ryan Seacrest. I'm not gonna say for what.
I think it's I think Katzenberg's behind it.
Yeah, man. So
they got some pretty heavy names backing it on the finance side, and like the big shift from what I remember hearing is this is going to be set up as a primary for mobile content.
Oh, nice.
Or at least there's a component of the business that's focusing on primarily mobile content. So that's a huge part of it. In fact, it's been crazy. I've been talking to different new alums that are coming out of Chapman, and a lot of those guys are landing entry level gigs over there. And in fact, I think we even have I think there's at least one guy who's a recent grad who's a cinematographer for some, I think it's a thriller or a horror that they've got that's designed specifically for mobile content, he said. So it's an interesting idea. interesting way they're going.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
What you reading?
I'm reading. I have an audition tomorrow, actually, and they give me
break a leg.
Thank you very much. And they give me some sides and some info in terms of who's directing it and all of that. And the director is somebody that I'm a fan of.
Well, good.
So
it's always nice when you actually get to say that you're a fan of their work and mean it.
Okay.
Instead of be one of those guys that comes in and is like, oh, yeah, I love this, and then you end up doing the Tobias. One question, am I concerned about the fire for those around me, or am I just trying to be brave? It's a fire sale. Because we've all been in those bullshit.
Yeah, it's a concept, not an actual fire.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Or when I love your work. You've never seen anything I've done. This is my first film. I've been in those too, where I'm just like, there's no way you've seen. Really, you were at the Poland Film Festival. The only time this played ever in public. You're
right. It's so silly. All right, so that's pretty much dropping that news over there.
Dropping that news.
Stop it.
You said you wanted to have some kind of a stinger. I'm just playing around.
That's all I wanted.
Oh, okay.
All right, now we're going to actually get into the meat and potatoes of this particular podcast, our pitch session. Now, the first one we're going to go over is actually one that you brought up that kind of initiated my little interest in this. My friend here, AJ, did a treatment pretty much of a proposed movie for a character from the Coming to America films, Randy Watson. And the title of it is Sexual Chocolate, the Randy Watson Story. Mm-hmm. Basically, this story would be a throwback mockumentary that builds on a relationship between Randy Watson and Reverend Brown from Coming to America. Now, I'm reading off some of your notes.
Please do.
All right. Now, over the past 2 decades, Randy Watson and Sexual Chocolate have left New York to pursue their dreams of becoming international stars, eventually leading to a shithole bar in Reno where they're preparing to record their sophomore album. Conversely, Reverend Brown's ministry has continued to grow. He has recently retired from the ministry in Queens to pursue a second career as an evangelist and community organizer. As part of his new ministry, he has decided to create a documentary highlighting some of the more successful members of his former congregation. Now, as cameras roll, Randy Watson and the Sexual Chocolate crew soon begins to overshadow the religious and civic nature of the particular project. Now, tonally, this is supposed to be a broad spectrum situational comedy that, while drawn on beloved characters from Coming to America, easily stands alone as a ridiculous caricature of Americana. I like that.
I've been looking at mockumentaries for long before we started talking about docs.
Yeah, yeah, man. So that's actually pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive into this thing, man. Now, like I saw here, the characters you got here are Randy Watson, that's the main one. Mm-hmm. Randy Watson,
played by Eddie Murphy,
and Reverend Brown, played by Arsenio Hall. So you, from the looks of it, looks like you want Reverend Brown to be more like a kind of like an Al Sharpton, just
some along that line.
Oh my god! And let's see, like I'm trying to see what would you want Randy Watson to be now.
Randy Watson's sort of like a really bad, weird spin-off of a John Lennon, or at least he thinks he's a John Lennon.
I think I'm a John Lennon.
But it's been 20 years since they performed in Coming to America, and they haven't even released their second album. So that kind of shows you just the challenges that the Sexual Chocolate's been having.
Now going in terms of time frame now, would you want this to be like modern day, like right now?
Yeah, right now in a shithole bar in Reno.
And would he still be having a Jerry curl?
Oh, yeah. He looks exactly the same. Everybody in the band looks exactly the same as they're working on this.
Everybody still got them crazy hairstyles from the 80s. Mm-hmm. That's dope.
If it works, don't mess with it.
Mm-hmm. Like I keep telling you, man, Randy Watson in 1988 looks exactly like my dad in 1988. Jerry curl and everything.
In fact, he has the only remaining case of Soul Glow in the country. He went and bought them out, and he heard they're going out of business.
So I have all the Soul Glow. Available right now. He's just like, excuse me, while he's doing his interview.
Exactly.
Constantly spraying himself down like fucking what's his name, Jerry Curl in Hollywood Shuffle.
Oh yeah.
Keaton Urban Williams character, Jerry Curl. Mm-hmm. And he have that. When Jerry Curl dried up, please give me. That shit was too funny. But I can see Randy Watson sitting in a lounge bar somewhere having a cigarette. Well, since 1988, I've had some tremendous success. I've traveled all over the world. I've traveled overseas. I've had various contracts, mainly in the Far East. I've done a lot of gigs in Japan. I'm very popular over there. I actually opened up a restaurant / massage parlor in Japan, and I call it the Chocolate Touch. and I ran it for many years. It was very, very, very popular, but unfortunately, it was subject to some sort of police raid. I really don't know the details, and nor can I disclose them legally. But since then, I've thought about the actual conditions that will lead to my United States return. Now, I'm thinking, in recent years, there have been a lot of soul reviews. There have been a lot of tours, like different groups like Morris Day and the Time and the SOS Band and things of that nature. Now, I'm thinking myself and Sexual Chocolate going on tour one more time. Basically, seeing the country, letting the country see us, seeing the wonderful group that we are. And also, I still get residuals from my episode of That's My Mama. So
are you planning on trying to win a Soul Train award? Is that in your future? Or a Grammy?
That would be wonderful. Soul Train Award would be wonderful. I felt I deserved the Soul Train Award for well over 30 years now. Especially for my wonderful rendition of The Greatest Love of All, which is originally sung by George Benson for the film The Greatest about Muhammad Ali. Okay. Now, a lot of people think that Whitney Houston's version is the greatest version of all. I personally think that mine is so authentic, it's so special, because I still get emails about it to this day. And it was done basically in a wonderful little parlor in, I call it a parlor, but it's actually just a little auditorium that they had in Queens, New York in 1988. Only did it one time.
This isn't bad. This isn't half bad. I like the way it's going.
Yeah, I only did it one time. It wasn't bad at all. It was actually a wonderful experience. Got a lot of exposure from. Apparently, there's some sort of African royalty in the crowd. I never actually verified that, but I have heard rumors of that so far. And also, it was sponsored by a wonderful restaurant in Queens known as McDowell's. Now, I'm not exactly sure if that restaurant is still in business right now, but if it is, I'm sure they'll be clamoring for a sponsorship on our particular tour. I mean, we've had a relationship before. Obviously, they see Star Power. They know Star Power when they see it, so they would want to get ahead on this and grab onto the lightning rod that is Randy Watson and Sexual Chocolate.
So now, one of the other things I had going, Randy Watson has been shacked up with what they referred to as the ugly girl, which was the Arsenio Hall girl, for the past 30 years, or 20 years.
The one from the club?
One from the club. And and as the documentary's developing, they break up.
I gotta do it.
Well, hold on. I want you to know. Yeah. So they've been together for a long time, but then they hit this point where they break up because the Yoko of the situation shows up in Coco de Milo.
Oh, Coco de Milo.
Who is marginally better looking and about 10 years older.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and so go ahead, play with that. That's where we were going with that one.
Well, so let's go ahead and go with the ugly girl.
You start with the ugly girl, but just so you know, I want to know as well about why you left her.
I stayed with Randy for many years.
Wait, now this is the ugly girl talking?
This is the ugly girl talking.
I thought you were still going to do Randy.
No, I'm going to do that girl. I stayed with Randy for many years. We toured all around the world together. I met him one night in a particular nightclub in Queens, New York. I'd had some marginal success with several other members of the male community in that particular area. Now, I met up with these wonderful, handsome African men, and they were clamoring to get my attention, and I was going to tear them apart, both of them. That's how I roll. And then, like a knight in shining armor, there he was, Randy Watson, in all his beautiful glory. His hair shimmered in the night, and then his beautiful velour suit. He was so handsome. We made love in the bathroom as soon as I saw him. At least 3 times. Just that night. We shacked up for many years. But as the saying goes, nothing lasts forever. Unfortunately for me, he shacked up with a little trollop by the name of Coco DeMilo. And let me tell you about Coco DeMilo. She is no beauty. Not like me.
It's not bad. I like where you're going with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, so anyway, he ends up hooking up with her, and then once he gets with Coco DeMilo, suddenly his brilliance just comes out, and she is his muse, and he's able to write like he's never written before. So he stays up all night for 3 days, and he writes the remaining 7 songs, which total out to 4.5 hours. Because that's just how long his songs are.
You know what would be a good song for Randy Watson? I don't know if you heard Bruno Mars' last album, but he had one on there called Calling All My Lovelies. And it's very reminiscent, like old school R&B. Like the lyrics are like, honey, I'm far too fly to be on standby.
Maybe it's like, maybe what it ends up
sending
being.
me straight to voicemail. Sugar, what the hell? Girl, you ought to be ashamed playing these childish games.
But it's got to be like a really bad rip-off version of it.
Okay. Because the lyrics are, I got Alicia waiting, Aisha waiting, all the Ishas waiting on me. So why you contemplating, player hating? If this is how it's going to be, I'm calling all my lovelies, calling all my lovelies. Because I can't get into his like a 3-part harmony thing. I can't really do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the song like that, just a really bad, awful like R&B song. Yeah, I feel you on that.
So and then she's getting in there, and like I said, she's the Yoko, she's the foil, so everything's starting to fall apart with the band. Reverend Brown's having a heart attack because, holy crap, like my whole thing's falling apart. He left his longtime companion, essentially common law wife, that whole thing, for this trollop.
Yeah.
And now he's sitting here, and I hope everyone loves the fact I use the word trollop. This is the writer's room side of shit.
Okay.
But anyway, so then after she has kind of successfully broken up the band, and it looks like everything's winding down, he triumphantly leaves the country after his albums debuted at nothing in America, but #1 in Belgium. So he leaves for a successful career in Belgium.
It's got to be some far-off country. Yeah,
well, Belgium I picked specifically because it's landlocked, and it's one of the smallest countries in Europe, and being #1 there is about like basically being #1 in Bakersfield. Like, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But he has some semblance of success, so there's a lot of room for some really good, fun,
I'm looking at your thing like the Belgian tour.
his triumphant Belgian tour.
His triumphant Belgian tour.
Well, and then if you want, you can even kind of have a wink and a nod, and the whole thing could be sponsored by Roscoe's.
Or
because there's waffles.
Or we're doing a special engagement in Zamunda.
Yeah, we could do that too.
We're doing a special engagement in Zamunda. We have been asked,
which would actually work really well with coming to America too, because it's reminiscent of when they met, or at least the first time he saw Lisa.
Yeah, and then like you could do like remember at the end of the Clumps where he's singing like the Larry Graham song "One in a Million You." Oh, 1 in a million, chance for a lifetime. And life show compassion. You ever seen the video for that? It's fucking hilarious.
I haven't seen the video for that.
But it's sent to me a stroke of love. Call you. He does his crazy. No, he does his crazy sustainment stuff. 1 in a million. That is fucking hilarious.
You know what?
No, because he's wearing like a shiny ass jockey outfit.
But you know what that reminds me of? Did you ever gone back and watched any of the music videos?
Oh my God!
That companioned with movies in the 80s?
Dude, I do that all the time.
Some of the funny. Did you ever see the one for shit? What was it, Dragnet?
The rap thing.
Yeah, with Tom Hanks and.
I heard the song. I never actually seen the video.
God. Dude, so you got. I feel slightly bad for Tom Hanks, although he's worth way more than I'll ever be worth. So I don't feel that bad for the man. Yeah. He's standing there at one point, and it's that really bad white man 80s rap where he's screaming in the camera.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's like throwing his hands at it.
Oh, my God.
And Dan Aykroyd's smart enough to just be in the background with sunglasses, like, "Yep, this isn't the Blues Brothers, but whatever.
Just be cool.
I'm just not going to say anything, and hopefully this will work out."
That's Dan's forte, man. No, but I will watch those videos. Like one really
so bad.
One
so
really funny one is fucking for Luther Vandross for the movie Ruthless People. It was Bette Midler and Danny DeVito, Judge Reinhold, and Helen Slater, and like it's like a kidnap plot movie. And the main song of it is a Luther Vandross song. Give me the reason to want you back.
Oh, okay.
Why should I love you again? But the video is basically clips of the movie with Luther Vandross just being superimposed, dancing around, singing the song and shit.
When you described that, I thought it was going to be more like the Dragnet one, and so Judge Reinhold was going to be singing
No.
song. That's why I was laughing so hard. It's like,
another really funny one is for the movie Into the Night. They did a series of music videos. Is in John Landis movie.
Yeah.
They did a series of music videos for B.B. King because he did this. He did the score of Into the Night, and one of them is for a song called Lucille, and the band is hilarious because it's Steve Martin, Michelle Pfeiffer, Jeff Goldblum on piano, who actually is really dope on the piano,
he's good.
and Eddie Murphy on drums.
Can Eddie play drums?
No, but he's the whole video is basically him on the drums and just smiling because he got like a little Jerry curl and shit, and then he keeps like missing cues, but he's smiling. And then
that's all you can do sometimes, man.
But yeah, like it's like Michelle and Steve on the horns, and they keep doing like stuff like this and shit. Like I think Dan Aykroyd is the other guy too. But yeah, like because Dan Aykroyd is in the movie, like it's a small cameo. But yeah, that's a funny one.
Dude, we should do that for docs.
Yeah, a video.
We should do a music video. We'll do a fake song that should have been in the movie. The companion.
Well, like the shit from Police Academy. Citizens on Patrol.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that. Dude, maybe we do that before we make the movie.
I'm down for that, bro.
Let's do that.
This is a really bad music video. That'd be great, man. Oh man, Citizens on Patrol. That's so dope. Oh man, we're having a good time.
This is all. Look, that's why I wanted to do something like this because these sessions for brainstorming stuff, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully other people enjoy it. But if they don't, I don't care. I'm having a blast with this.
That's what's up. All right, so you sent me actually a bunch of ideas of what we could do for a potential
pick whichever ones you want.
Let's go with one that you sent me. Trading Places reboot sequel.
Trading Places reboot.
The sequel, yeah, that's actually really good. Now, as far let's go with both of them actually. Let's try a sequel first, and then for a reboot, who will we pick? Like in terms of so for the sequel, let's say
because let's go with where it ended, right?
Okay, so
they're out hanging out on the beach, right? So. Eddie, Dan Aykroyd, they're doing great, and then I can never remember the actor's name who played the
Butler.
The Butler, yeah.
Denholm Elliott, Coleman.
Yeah. But the actors who I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Denholm Elliott. Yeah.
Great classical actor.
Yes.
Brilliant. So anyway, so they're there.
Yeah, Marcus Brody. Yeah.
Yeah, they're set. Dan Aykroyd's hooked up with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
So modern times.
Okay.
Oh, and then we can't forget the Dukes. The Dukes are broken, busted. They're out on the street, which you get a nice little wink and a nod to and come to America.
But
they also get the cash.
I was just about to go that route because, like, for those of you who don't know, there is a cameo of the Dukes in Coming to America where they were busted. They were basically bankrupted by the actions of Trading Places. They're now homeless people living by the New York River. During one incidental moment, during a date between the character Akeem and Lisa, Akeem gives the homeless dudes basically a fast food bag full of cash. Now, he doesn't realize who he's giving it to. He's just giving it to two homeless dudes. They just happen to be two very ruthless old codgers who basically had no value for human life until they had everything taken away from them. Well, I'm about to say they probably still don't have any. But Randolph, leave me alone, Mortimer. Randolph. I'm still not talking to you. Look, Mortimer, we're back. That could be the beginning of the movie.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Mortimer, those words, Mortimer, we're back.
So now it's present day.
Yes.
They have taken that little bit of pocket change from Akeem, and they've managed to build their empire again.
under a new name.
Exactly.
Let's go.
New name.
Yeah. Like
in fact, not just a new name. Let's put them in a new country because, and maybe this has changed more recently, but for the longest time, I think even through the 80s and 90s, insider trading, the way it's illegal here in America, isn't illegal in the UK.
Oh.
So if they had any connects, they could go over there and they could build their empire up pretty quick. In fact, I think there's even kind of a wink and a nod motion to it in Wall Street Money Never Sleeps.
That's true.
Right, because that's why Michael ends up going back over there to build it once he gets the money off his daughter instead of staying in New York because he's banned from the trading industry in New York.
Okay.
So those guys are over there now. They've built it up. They've got themselves a fortune. Meanwhile, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Coleman, those guys, they're not aware of this because it's not a part of their life. They don't care. They're just rich guys who sit back making cash.
Yeah, like let's say for argument's sake, they are rich guys making cash, but cash, that kind of cash might not last forever, so they've built themselves a company together. Like they got their own company, they got their own like brokerage or something along those lines. It's doing very well. It has done very well for the last 30 plus years. Eddie's the CEO, Dan is the CEO, and then all of a sudden, out the blue, this wonderful life that they had starts to go into shambles because they're being bought out by this mysterious company in London. Look at the mysterious company in London, who they've never heard of. It was like let's give them, and we should give them like a name that like would be like kind of reticent of like the old movie or like a $1 Corporation. Also, no, not nothing as on the nose as that, but just something like just kind of speaks to that kind of thing. Like
we could call it like Quidco because in the UK, a buck's a quid. Or essentially, that's about the same thing to them. So an American wouldn't necessarily know what that is, but still I'm going to nod to the
What
original.
is this Quidco thing? Yeah,
who the hell is Quidco? Why are they fucking with my life?
Yeah, and then they look it up.
So first they start by poaching their biggest clients. So they're starting to have financial problems, and now they're getting bought out by this mysterious company, and they can't figure out why.
Yeah.
But see, if it's the Dukes, it can't just be that they come in and buy out the company and do anything illegal. There's got to be some nefarious, dirty, underhanded shit going on trying to ruin their lives.
Okay, so let's say they're in doing so, they're also like trying to hire like a hook. Like him and Jamie Lee Curtis have been married successfully for years.
So maybe one of the things they do is they start running pieces and stuff about how she used to be a hooker.
Yes,
putting that out in the press, those kinds of things, like in socialite things.
Or they could bring out the thing that he was busted for drugs. And all this other thing, and then that Valentine was at one point a beggar that was arrested for
when they actually get his trading license revoked because they're able to pull his old criminal record.
Yeah.
So they start doing that to screw with their lives.
Yeah, and then like all this is happening, like all this revenge is happening, like why is all this happening at once? And then it's like they discover something like that, like gives them a clue to like who's doing it to them. And like you said, the quid things, like a quid, like that's $1. You don't think
it just clicks?
Yeah, it can't be them.
They'd be dead by now.
Yeah, and then like you hear like get a video message or something from them, like just like right at that moment, or some kind of communication from them right at that moment as they figure it out.
No. What if somebody recognizes Clarence Biggs?
Oh,
that brings it full circle back around. Clarence Biggs would want to get even with him.
I definitely want to get even with him.
He'd do that shit for free.
And it'd be like fucked. And he'd be fucked up if he can't walk right, like he has like a walker or some shit like that.
Dude, he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair. You want to know why I'm in this wheelchair?
It's one of those electric ones. He's got the switch.
And everything keeps fucking it up. Like he keeps fucking it up. It'd be fun little gag. Like,
oh, dude, it's a great visual gag.
He keeps showing up, and then but he keeps fucking up. And then just sitting there like looking at the fool like he's trying to be serious, but like his wheelchair keeps fucking up. That'd be hilarious. And then like your Clarence Beaks, like, and then they oh my god, you working for them, aren't you? Of course I am. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm doing this for free.
Like, fuck the both of y'all. I'm getting y'all back, bro.
Okay, so we got the setup as to what's happening, what's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, the question is, how far do they push it to really screw it up for Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, and then what do they do to get back on top?
Let's say they get to the point where they actually get kicked out.
They lose. They're in disgrace. They've lost the business.
Yeah, they lost the business. They, you know what I'm saying? They had no choice but to take what they have and hide, get away from this because it's gotten to be too big, too much. And now that they know that it is the Dukes, that they find a way to get back at these motherfuckers. And should figure out how to do it though. I mean, that's the weird part.
Well, again, like we were talking about before, so the UK has got insider trading laws are a lot different than ours. A lot of those guys can do some kind of backroom shady shit.
So what if
are you pro or con introducing a new character? Because either one of those guys should have kids by now.
No, I don't like when they do that.
Okay, so then we'll stay away from that.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. Because it takes away the attention from the people
from
the people that actually want to pay attention to it. I give a fuck about some kid. So, because
what they really need to do, if we're going to play off a similar trope, because I mean that was the good and the bad thing about the Back to the Future, right? Is that you literally get to watch the same show, the same story, different 3 times, right? That's the whole thing with the whole Biff and Marty thing that goes over and over and over again. Yeah. So what we need is a way for them to figure out it's the Dukes and to be screwing up the Dukes.
So the trading places thing in terms of this particular movie would be the Dukes who were poor and destitute.
Swap themselves
in.
And
then like fucking Eddie and Dan who were rich and affluent. You know, the Dukes manipulate shit so that like it starts changing everything into their favor. And then like Eddie and Dan and Jamie Lee are back on the streets and shit. And then they figure it out. Now they have to figure a way to get back, you know what I'm saying, to where things used to be. So
the last time they stole inside information and were able to not only steal the information but convince the Dukes it was something else, screw them up.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to do something similar in this case. Now, trading and the trading floors, all that stuff has changed. So much of it's done with algorithms and everything. So the real question is, how do you con a con man?
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture.
Cancel culture. Let's have the Dukes. Like that's pretty much all of today's society right now is cancel culture. Let's have the Dukes do something so heinous and admit to it. How do
they lose their money though?
Yeah.
See, that's what you got to get because the way you hurt rich people is making them poor.
People. Yes, right.
Right. So how do we get them? Because I agree with you. Like if there was anything else. You could cancel culture them, shame them, whatever. But these guys don't care. They only talk to each other, and they're rich.
Yeah. So
we gotta figure out how to take away the only thing they give a shit about, which is the money.
Yeah. We just have to figure out some way, like in terms of like some sort of big, almost so far I say stock event. I'm pretty sure there's some precedent for an event like that where they trying to they build themselves up again. But they do something so heinous, so wrong that it ruins everything in terms of not only the reputation and the stocks go down, the company value goes down. Like,
what if this is taking a very different direction? But what if one of the things that they were kind of known for before they got taken over by Quidco was the international deals, right? Maybe that's a little more what they were on.
Okay.
What if we could find a way to put the Dukes, now that they've taken over their company with Quidco, trying to be hot shit, to end up in, like, say, China or something. And while they're in China, they're coming in trying to be, you know, the big swinging dicks around town. They think they know what's up.
Yeah.
But a place like that, there's a hell of a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes and just below the surface that if you don't understand it, you can get yourself in trouble really quick.
Yeah.
So what if those guys use their last couple of dimes to go over and connect with some guys they know out of like Hong Kong or Shanghai or Beijing or something, and they are able to trick the Dukes into getting caught bribing someone.
Yeah.
So then they go to jail in China.
Yeah, and
because you go to jail in China, you cop for bribes, you're never coming home.
Yeah, you're not coming back.
Doesn't matter how much money you got.
So basically, they would have to get, like Eddie and Dan would have to get in contact with someone. They would have to learn about these
China, the Middle East, something like that.
Yeah, they would have to learn about this Chinese development or this Middle Eastern development.
It's like going to be one of you pick a place like that, like you go for like Dubai or you do Shanghai or something, like Quidco's crown jewel. To basically announce to the world the Dukes are back, it's going to be this new crazy whatever development.
Or it could be like some big convention or some like big world event where the Dukes are back. Yeah, like
because it's like if you're going to build like the new World Trade Center, right? But you're going to do like the Chinese World Trade Center.
Yeah.
You're going to build something really big like that. These guys get caught greasing some palms. They go away in China. You're never seen again.
That's a good way to go.
And they can be sitting there at the end kind of waving as they're like, what are you guys doing here? They'll be like, well, us, we're just on the ribbon cutting committee.
Yeah, that's right. And
some symbol which shows like, no, we end ran you and we got back in because they like us.
I was about to say like the Dan and Eddie can be like the competitor company. Hey, the Deuce is doing this bullshit. We'll come in, we'll bid this for you. And then the Chinese people are like, we don't give the deal to you and that kind of thing. And then like I said, the Deuce get caught up like bribing and all this illegal shit. They get sent away forever.
Which for them is only like another 6 weeks because they'd be old as shit.
But it would be. But no, old codgers and shit. Yeah, and then back on top.
Back on top. There you go. That wasn't bad. That was bad. And in case anybody's wondering, we don't have any notes. No, we're literally just extemporizing.
We're spitballing right now. This is a live spitball session.
And that's how shit gets written.
That's how shit gets written, buddy. That's right.
All right, so if you're going to reboot it,
okay,
we're going to keep it pretty much the same. We're just going to update. So like instead of screaming in the stock pit, they're doing some computer shit. Who are you going to cast?
The weird part about it is they kind of did do a soft reboot of Trading Places. You ever seen the movie Get Hard?
Oh yeah,
with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. It's basically Trading Places, bro. Even if you watch the beginning, same thing. Except it's in L.A. Like they have different. They do the establishing shots just like Landis did in Philly. Yeah. Except in Get Hard, it's like Beverly Hills in L.A. and like hardcore L.A. So they do the same thing again. Then the same thing, like this black dude is helping this white dude out. Like he's about to go to jail. He's ruined. And he's being ruined by somebody he trusts. He's a relative of somebody he trusts and shit. So fucking like it's pretty much it's very similar. So, but in terms of like actors, I don't want to do like Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart again. Let's try it with somebody else. I'm trying to think of who it would be.
Well, how young do you want to go?
I don't have to go that young. Like
I think Andy Samberg could do the Dan Aykroyd role.
Andy Samberg,
interesting.
But who would be his black counterpart? That's really what it is. I'm trying to think of who's hot right now in terms of hot young black stand-ups other than Kevin Hart.
Donald Glover. He's funny. He's got great timing.
He is very funny.
He killed it in Community.
He is very funny.
I think he would. I honestly think that would be some interesting chemistry. Too.
Andy Samberg and Donald Glover.
That could be fun.
And then they could probably do a music video because both of them are musically inclined.
Yeah. I'd watch that shit.
Yeah. And we need to have like a female love interest with like really nice tits. So, Alison Brie, that'd be a good love interest. Also from Community.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be a good love interest. She could be the Ophelia, and you could have an old school actor play fucking.
Who are we gonna have for Mortimer and Randolph?
Let's go old school. Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, but I don't want to bring anybody from before. I think it needs to be.
Mortimer and
because if you're gonna go a little more classical, you could do a Robert Duvall. Yeah.
No, I'm not really feeling that.
And Jeff Bridges. That would be
Jeff and Bo Bridges.
Oh yeah. I wasn't even thinking Bo, but yeah, would be
Jeff and Bo. Bo still acts. He's not as frequent as Jeff, but
no, that'd be hilarious. They'd kill it.
Jeff Bridges and Bo Bridges.
All right, so who's Coleman?
Shit, that's a good one. Another old school actor.
Let's go English though.
Reliable actor. Jeremy Irons. I would go comedic though, like for like British actor or
Well, no, you need a straight man in that role.
Timothy Dalton.
Okay, I'll let you go Timothy Dalton, although you'll never get him. He's got too much money and too much to lose.
To play Michael Caine. Well, he's already done the Butler.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's done that to death.
Okay, Michael Caine. Not Michael Caine. John Cleese.
Okay.
John Cleese.
Yeah, I can see that. That'd be good casting.
That's Coleman, yes. Scientific experiments, huh? I love John Cleese. Yeah, John Cleese.
Eggnog.
I'll beat someone to it. Eggnog.
It's my life savings, Sam. Please don't lose it.
He'd be such a smart ass. I love,
That'd be good.
Yeah, okay, so our cast for our proposed reboot of Trading Places: Andy Samberg as Louis Winthorpe III, Donald Glover as Billy Ray Valentine, Alison Brie as Ophelia. Let's see. Jeff Bridges and Bo Bridges as Randolph and Mortimer Duke. And John Cleese as Coleman, the butler.
I think I'd watch that.
I would watch that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm on board for that.
I'm down with that. I really am. Jeff and Bo Bridges, that'd be dope. All right. Okay, so this was all right. So we got a Trading Places sequel and our reboot.
Pork bellies, which you might find in which we're used to make bacon, which you might find in
any
a
bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. How he breaks the wall, like really, like really, motherfucker. I know what a BLT is. Let's see.
You put bacon in that?
Okay, so now let's look at one of your other ideas.
All right, what else we're going with?
Indiana Jones reboot.
Yeah, assuming that The Last Crusade was the last.
Assuming okay.
The trilogy ends and then we start from scratch without aliens and shit.
Yeah, without aliens. Okay, so there have been a lot of names floated around as a potential Indiana Jones. The one I heard most frequently in recent years was Chris Pratt.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Yeah, Chris Pratt and a couple other names came to mind, like Chris Pratt, Scott Eastwood, but he hasn't really done a lot of like leading man stuff. I'm trying to think of
Speaking of Scott,
yeah.
Did you see what was that? It was a western. I can't remember what it was called, where he plays like a western, like a bad guy who's got schizophrenia and he doesn't know it.
I don't.
Dude, it is. I felt so bad because he's not. He's a better actor than that, but the movie was just put together poorly. He's a solid. He's a good choice.
Okay.
I think.
So Scott Eastwood, let's throw that in there. Chris Pratt would probably be number one because he got the physicality and the humor.
Chris Pine would work as well.
Chris Pine, yeah.
He'd be decent.
Okay, I can see that. Wish River Phoenix was still alive, but that'd be more appropriate. Shit. I'm trying to think of anybody else who would have that kind of lead the man thing for Indiana Jones.
Now, would you still keep it set where you're basically fighting with the Nazis, trying to grab artifacts and stuff?
Yes, that's basically the crux of the Indiana Jones movies. That's really what made them work.
But could you reset it in a modern setting? Fighting. So, I mean, could you be essentially trying to beat the ISIS fighters to it or something?
No, it don't have the same oomph as the Nazis.
Yeah.
Like no matter like.
Every time I
forgot what the person was, but like fucking, whenever you need a reliable bad guy, pick a Nazi.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's really hard not to cheer when you watch them, punch an SS officer.
Punch a goddamn Nazi.
Oh, no, that's appropriate.
So let's keep it serialized because that's what it's based on anyway. The serials, I watch a lot of serials on YouTube, and the Nazis and people of that ilk are rampant through those movies. So we got to keep it the Nazis.
Did you ever? I don't know how deep you went on any of the fanfic or any of the other stuff in the world. Did you ever read any of the Young Indiana Jones series?
I watched a couple episodes. But
did you ever read any of the books or anything?
No, I never read the books.
So the idea is part of the reason why Indiana Jones is such a badass as far as being an archaeologist.
Yeah.
His parents were archaeologists.
Yeah, I know. I got the gist of the show.
Yeah. So the question is, I guess we're looking at it because those are all great options to do a reboot and just basically do something hopefully less than a shot-for-shot remake of the first three. What if we did a young Indiana Jones?
That'd be cool. But I don't really...
Because then you'd have to list artifacts. Because the one thing, from The Last Crusade, Raiders of the Lost Ark, he's essentially looking for what are Christian artifacts. It gets a little bit different in Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
A little bit, and that's where it starts to get off. And then he goes way off into a whole nother world with Crystal Skull.
There is an episode of the Indiana Jones Chronicles that I always thought would be a dope movie if they ever did it.
Okay.
Now, in one particular episode, he ends up in Romania and ends up fighting a criminal named General Targo, I believe the name was. But General Targo turns out to be Vlad the Impaler, a.k.a. Dracula.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones versus Dracula.
I'm on board with that.
Exactly. So I always thought that was a dope. And they showed stills of like the actor they had playing.
Because Vlad the Impaler has the impetus, the jumping off point for what Dracula became. The idea is that he has something bordering on immortality.
Yeah.
He just doesn't die. So it makes sense.
It doesn't have to necessarily be vampirism. He might like drink blood or some shit like that. So sort
just
of,
being,
it's part
or
of, it's
just
part
like
of the original.
Vlad the Impaler was just be a masochist.
And be able to like entrance people, like make them like voodoo, like voodoo zombies who are like not like actual zombies, like undead zombies.
Vigo.
But like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Vigo the Carpathian.
make zombies and shit. So I think that would be a dope way to go in terms of like
interesting.
Yeah, Indiana Jones versus Dracula.
Okay.
And then there'd be like a big confrontation in the castle and shit. You know, they got to have a Dracula castle.
So if he was, so let's go back though for a second too. If we're going with keeping it more in the original vein, if he was going to be looking for an artifact, something in Christendom, whatever it was, that had some sort of a power or significance to it, that he's trying to beat the Nazis to, what's he looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question because there's a lot of different
I
artifacts.
mean, he pretty much just got like the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah.
Because they already did, with the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
They already did the Ark, the Covenant.
Yeah, I'm trying to look
There's not a lot more in terms of Christendom, in terms of like holy artifacts. I mean, I suppose if maybe there's something like to the nails that were used to hang Christ, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and
because they would have actually touched the blood of Christ the same way the other one did, so maybe they have some sort of a significant, healing power or capability.
I would see that. That's what I'm thinking.
Something like that could be interesting. Oh, and the wasn't there something? Didn't they mention something about the lance that was used to pierce his side?
Yeah, and
maybe he's looking for both of those, trying to get those away from the Nazis.
Yeah, and maybe like the lance could be the one thing that can kill like Dracula or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Take away his immortality.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
that could be interesting.
That could be.
I like where that one's going.
I like where that one's going too. I'm trying to look up actually what I'm doing right now while he's talking is trying to look up sacred artifacts or relics associated with.
Look, sometimes when you're writing, you need to do research if you want it to be even halfway decent.
Like associated with Jesus. Let's see. There's like the true cross.
Right, which
or he could kill him with wood from the cross.
Yeah.
You found you found the cross and you find like wood from the cross. And friggin' or like no, I don't think that would. There's a bunch of different things here. The Holy Grail or the knife used on the Last Supper.
Oh, to cut the bread?
Yes.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and the Holy Grail, the crown of thorns.
Yeah, that'd be another one.
Yeah, the actual crown of thorns from Jesus. Like we're talking about the holy nails. But there's a bunch of different ones.
But at any rate, any of those things, trying to get those away from the Nazis would be big. I mean, here's the thing. My biggest problem with the Crystal Skull was they completely jumped way too far over the suspension of disbelief they've been asking audience to go with for the first three films.
Yeah.
Because the first three films had enough basis in historical significance and in cultural and historical reality, right, for people that, whether or not the Holy Grail even still exists at this point, or if it's been lost to history, that's a question people could ask. But if you're willing to say, okay, well, that was an object that was there, you can go along for the ride. There's been nothing, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but there's been nothing to even remotely suggest that extraterrestrial life has visited this planet, or that there's even an artifact to find from them, not to mention all the weird shit that happens with those skulls. Yeah. And so they kind of lost, because where they were going, where they were making the Russian communists the new bad guys, the USSR, I was on board. I was like, okay, I understand. That's a safe enough switch. I see where you're going with it. I mean, even the thing where he survives a nuclear blast inside the fridge, I was like, oh my God, I'll hang in there. I can, okay, maybe. They lost me once they went to aliens. It was just a field too far.
So now we got that established. What would be the name?
Well, it depends on what we go with, because it's always Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, which has that wink and a nod to the Crusaders. Indiana Jones: The Temple of Doom, the Temple. Indiana Jones: Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it really depends on what we pick. If it's the Crown of Thorns, then
Indiana Jones and the Crown of Thorns. Indiana Jones and the Tool of the Crucifixion. Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones versus Dracula. They done Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
I know. They shouldn't have. Now you're starting to get into like Magic the Gathering and shit. Expansion packs.
Oh my God, that'd be dope, bro.
Which I don't play, I'm just aware. Just because I know of something doesn't mean I actually utilize it. All right, so that's not bad for some Indiana Jones stuff. It's not as deep as Trading Places, but that's because if you're gonna do a reboot.
Yeah, this one will take a lot more time. We definitely had to do some like real.
Well, yeah, because again, since it's archaeological,
you have to
base it in something archaeological.
A real notified artifact.
I mean, you could leave the Christendom side of things aside, and you could go for looking at something like some of the ancient civilizations, like the Druids, or like maybe something weird with the Phoenicians or the Egyptians. Like maybe there's some weird Egyptian thing. Because I mean, you can always get away with a lot of stuff putting some weird shit on, Egyptian artifacts.
Yeah. All right. So we got that knocked out with the Indiana Jones reboot. There's one more here that I really like, and I think it'd be cool because I love the movie. A reboot of Happy Gilmore.
I would love that.
I'm down with that. I really love a reboot of Happy Gilmore. Now, first off, casting. Who's gonna play Happy?
Well, you love it. I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. Now, in terms of who I would pick, because Adam Sandler was a very unique cat in that particular role. Now, it would have to be someone very, very silly, but very popular with today's audience. So I would probably go with another Adam Devine, or Devine, or whatever his name is.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, Adam.
That would be good.
The dude from Workaholics.
Yeah, because he has that little bit of rage always bubbling below the surface too, which is freaking hilarious. And he's built like a small hockey player.
Exactly. So he can still have him be hockey, and he can be obsessed with hockey. He can be like one of those like those YouTube gamers where all they play is like sports and like shit like that, and all they do is just go on like these tangents. Oh my god, are you fucking nuts? What the fuck? Like one of those type of guys. And then on top of that, he's like a really sucky hockey player, and he keeps trying to get on this goddamn team.
But he's got a hell of a slap shot.
Yeah, he got a hell of a slap shot. He discovers it accidentally, just like Happy does. In some like weird incident. Now, would you want to still go with the whole thing like he's raising money to save his grandma?
Yes, that's Cloris Leachman.
Cloris Leachman.
I love Cloris Leachman.
I love Cloris Leachman too.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, or Betty White.
Betty White would work because here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I've only ever seen Cloris Leachman in person once. It was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know how spry she is anymore.
Yeah.
I've seen Betty White more recently on TV and stuff. Yeah. She's still pretty spry because you've got to be able to move around a little bit for that.
And part. Plus, you need somebody to she'd be funny, the funny grandma.
Well, either one of them would be perfect for that.
She could be like one of the grandma's board grandmas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, like I'm trying to think who of those chicks are still alive. The only one that died was Doris Roberts.
Oh right, yeah.
Because Shirley Jones is still alive, and the other chick, who also named Shirley, I forgot her last name, she's still alive. So it could be any one of those chicks, or like I said, or it could be Betty White. Betty White would probably be the best choice because she can knock out a one-liner like it ain't nothing.
Oh yeah, what's that new show she's been doing?
I don't know.
Somebody showed me there was like a series of Betty White one-liners. It was freaking hilarious. Some of them were improv. Mm-hmm. She definitely still has some killer timing.
And then we got to have our bad guy, Shooter McGavin. So who would be a really good modern bad guy?
Well, you want to have somebody who's physically built like a golfer. But like an old golfer. Because a lot of the golfers now are...
And funny and really good at playing a prick.
Ron White.
And really good at playing a prick.
Ron White.
Ron White?
I think Ron White would be funny in that.
Is Shooter McGavin? I think he'd be a little too old.
He's on the edge.
Yeah, I think he's a little too old.
I think he'd be pretty funny as that. Even as an old guy. Because it's even funnier that he still hasn't got his golden jacket.
No, he's got to be like for our modern audiences, it'd be hot. It'd be cool if he's like a like this wannabe hot guy who's a golfer. He thinks he's God's gift to women and shit like that. So we need somebody with a real good jerk mechanism. Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can get Bradley Cooper to play a villain again because he's been making bank being the hero now. Yes, he hasn't done villain work since what was that? The Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, he was a good villain in the Wedding Crashers.
He was great in that.
Yeah,
I wanted to punch when he was doing the little
exactly
the otter thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we need a really good bad guy. Somebody who's proficient in playing like
his age isn't bad though.
Yeah, somebody like that who's really good with golf. Or let's go in another direction. Somebody who I know loves golf, might be a little old, but he'd be a great asshole. Sam Jackson.
Sam Jackson would be good.
And Shooter McGavin.
You could base,
No. Have Sam be Chubbs.
Oh yeah, Sam should be Chubbs.
Sam be Chubbs. Sam be Chubbs. Okay, I'll take that back. Sam will be Chubbs because he loves golf. He actually has I think he has in his rider, his contracts.
Golf time.
Golf time. He has to have golf time.
Well, you know what? So since this is just he's getting close on the age thing as well, but he basically just be reprising an earlier role, Bill Murray. Because you have him, he basically is Kingpin.
No. Like we could do that, but with him, I think he would be better doing the Bob Barker part.
Oh, Bob Barker?
Doing
yeah, that'd be even funny. He knocks him out.
The pro-am. He's doing it with Bill Murray.
No, you're right. With Bill Murray. When you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill would be too old. We need someone who's like...
No. Bob Barker was ancient when he did that shit.
I mean for Shooter. Shooter needs to be about 40. Yeah, no, he'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, he'd be perfect for the pro-am.
And that'd be a great cameo for him.
Yeah, fucking Bill Murray, because he loves golf.
He's been doing more and more cameos with stuff.
Yeah, so...
In fact, remember Parks and Rec when he plays himself as the mayor, but he's dead?
Mayor Gunderson, yeah. And they've been trying to get him since day one to be Mayor Gunderson.
And it was great when they got him. He literally was like, okay, I'll do it, but I'm
we'll be dead. I'm going to be dead. Yeah, that shit was great. Okay, so we got Bill Murray as the celebrity guest. But that's the one thing we're trying to circle here. Shooter.
You know, he's a little bit too southern most of the time when it comes around.
Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say Woody Harrelson, but I think
Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, it'd be Jason.
And Shooter McGavin. Jason Sudeikis.
That would be.
Yes. That's a good little cast. Who would play the chick too? Yeah, because like the chick was the original chick was Julie Bowen, who's on Modern Family.
Yeah.
So we need a really hot chick who's also kind of funny. I don't want to do Anna Faris. Whatever.
Liza Schlesinger.
Yeah. Okay, I can see
funny.
that. I can see that. Liza Schlesinger. I'm trying to think of some other choices. Who would really mesh with Adam Devine.
She would be a little bit tall for him, though. He's not a very tall guy, is he?
No. But I was gonna say Aubrey Plaza, but she.
Well, they just did that other movie
No, but
too.
she's proficient. Yeah, they did Mike and something the wedding day.
Yeah, the wedding guest one.
But she's more proficient in playing the awkward chick and awkward like.
Yeah,
like
she's got that.
So we need somebody who's like a good like public relations chick who would be really funny, really hot and really funny.
I don't know, man. I might be doing a casting session.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like who would be funny. Like Jennifer Lawrence has a good personality and she's pretty, but I don't know if she would do a movie like this because she's more like Jones and shit like that.
We need someone with a little more of a comedic background. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of opportunity for some good comedy in there. Scarlett
Johansson. Scarlett Jo.
I don't think you'd get her for this either.
I don't think
she's too expensive.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
Way too expensive, especially after Black Widow.
Yeah.
You kidding me? I mean, that's why I didn't say what.
I'm going down the MCU chart.
Well, because what I was gonna say when we were talking earlier about what we're gonna have for the Happy Gilmore character. Mr. Deadpool himself, but that doesn't work because he's too expensive.
Yes, he is.
You're never going to get Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, but you can't get Adam Devine or whatever his name is. And
Adam Devin.
Stuff. What's her name? Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, you know what? And she does have good comedic timing.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Okay, so we got a cast for this. Okay, so we got Adam Devine Devin as Happy Gilmore. We got Elizabeth Olsen as Virginia Venom, I believe her name was Virginia Venom. That's another thing with Adam Sandler movies. All the girls have the VV names.
Yeah.
Veronica Vaughn, Vicky Valancourt, Virginia Venom. So, and then we got Jason Sudeikis as Shooter McGavin, Sam Jackson as Chubbs, and a cameo by Bill Murray during the pro-am.
Yep. Knocking him out.
You know, it'd be cool because you remember they had the dude as like the head of the pro-am or whatever the fuck, who was like that kind of guy.
Yeah. He was the head of the PGA.
Yeah, Chevy.
That'd be great.
Chevy Chase, and then he's the one that has to keep Adam Devine character in check because he's like going nuts and shit.
Yeah,
fuck around the road.
Wait, so who's gonna get the Ben Stiller part?
Ooh,
that's a good part. I mean, you could probably bring Ben Stiller back.
Who's the
He'd
other?
be killer.
No. Who's the other guy from Workaholics? The kid with the long hair.
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. The frizzy hair.
Yeah, that kid. Or what's the other dude that was popular before he got popped for The sexual harassment thing.
That's a long list.
The dude from Deadpool.
Dude from Deadpool.
His friend. Fuck. I don't know what.
Oh, the bartender.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah, what is his name?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
He'd be interesting.
Yeah, like, because he'd be great with the one-liners and shit. It'd be great to see him with fucking Betty White.
You know what? I'm going to go back to him again. Andy Samberg would be funny in that role, too.
Yes, he would.
Especially if you gave him that mustache, that porn star mustache.
Oh, my God. Because he looked like he did in High Ride.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah. I'll give you that. That's what's up. All right. So, dude,
Sam Jackson is Chubbs.
That's a good cast.
That's
mainly what we're doing in that cast. And the story itself could pretty much, like I said, it's already established story. We probably might change a few elements just for, like, modern times, but the story in itself is solid.
Yeah.
This weirdo comes out of nowhere. He could be like a YouTube sensation just for the kids and shit. Like this guy who's like killing it at golf because everybody loves the bad boy in sports.
Yep.
So this motherfucker comes out of nowhere. He's like this sucky hockey player and all this other shit, and YouTube guy who becomes this hit on the PGA tour and becomes this like unexpected celebrity and shit. That story by itself, it pretty much writes itself. So fucking like yeah, and then of course he goes for the Masters, the big
for the gold jacket,
for the gold jacket or the green jacket.
Whatever it was that gold or green? I don't even remember.
What is it? Gold jacket, green jacket? Who gives a shit? That shit.
One thing all you need to be a golfer is funny pants and a
fat
huge ass. Talk to my neighbor at the bank. He's got a huge ass.
He'd be a great golfer. There you go.
Hustling driving ranges.
Oh my God, bro. See, that's a movie right there, man.
So, any chance of a sequel?
For the original Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, how would you sequel that?
That's interesting. Okay, so let's go back to the original cast. Now, the end of the movie had, Happy winning the PGA Tour, getting the gold. There's the gold jacket in the movie. The gold jacket, Shooter McGavin getting the shit beat out of him by the spectators.
He gets Grandma's house back.
And he gets Grandma's house back. Now, it ended happily ever after, and it was a definitive happy ever after. Now, let's cut to almost 30 years later. I can't believe it's that damn long. But 20 plus years later, let's say Happy is now like a washed up celebrity.
So you heading in the direction of like Eastbound and Down?
Or Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Okay.
That's the first one that popped in my head. Like, he did the great thing. He's only known for that. But now, shit is kind of going downhill. Him and old girl broke up.
Did he keep playing golf, or after that he was done?
After that he said, fuck it. Just like, I'm done. And him and old girl broke up. Grandma died.
Is he still trying out for hockey? Minor leagues every year? He still can't skate.
Let's say he finally said fuck that, and now he owns his own hockey thing, but they suck. And then they like comically suck. Like why?
So he used his Subway money and his PJ winnings to buy a piece in like a minor league team.
Yeah, and then he's like
the Ice Hogs,
or it could be like fucking like Average Joe's, where it's like a bunch of misfits and shit. Like fucking just suck ass fucking misfits and shit. So he's doing that shit now. Now let's say Shooter McGavin has turned to commentary. He's like a big golf commentator. He's still
making money, still driving a Bentley or something, doing well.
But he's haunted.
Because he never got the jacket.
He never beat Happy Gilmore for the jacket. So got that going. So that's a good little plot right there. Now let's say he pulls an Apollo Creed on Happy Gilmore.
Go to a grudge match.
Yeah, like freaking like people have been hunting me down on this for like the last 30 years. I have to get back to the tournament. I have to get there. Plus, it's great PR. Me coming out of retirement, going for the gold jacket one more time and winning. And not only winning, but beating him to do it. So like he's.
But since it's 30 years later, now they're playing in the senior PGA.
Nice.
Right. So you got that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Actually, okay, so I like where you're going with this. So you were talking before, he's got this hockey team, but they suck. They're comically bad, right?
Yes.
So let's say Shooter McGavin shows up to talk some shit to try to get him to go out against him in the senior PGA, to go on tour, to try to go for the gold jacket, or I don't know if it's still gold if you're in the senior PGA, but whatever the fuck it is. And he's like, hey, man, I got all my own shit going on. I finally just signed this new kid over here to work for me, to be on our team. We might actually have a shot at winning this year. Mm-hmm. And as Shooter McGavin's pulling out, his car gets T-boned by that kid. And so he threatens, hey, I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to sue him, and I'm going to make sure he's in court for the next blah, 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 blah. And Adam Sandler's like, if you do that, you're going to fuck up my season. And he goes, well,
there's only one way. There's only one way you can do it. Play me, and I'll make all this go away.
Yep.
I like that.
So what's really riding on it is whether or not his team gets going, and so he cares enough about hockey. Say, fuck it, I'm going to drag these clubs out, and I'm going to play one more time.
That's a good movie right there, bro.
And then we're going to bring back his old boss. What was his name?
Mr. Larson.
Mr. Larson.
The actor has since passed away, though.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Richard Keels died.
That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Mr. Keel passed away.
It'd be nice to bring him back for a cameo, though.
It would have been nice, yeah. But he towards the end of his life, he was to the point where he was like hardly mobile. So he wouldn't have been sad. He was hardly mobile in the movie because he's like so big. Like like in certain parts he was like in crutches and shit. You just didn't see it. Like you see him always like leaning on somebody. People. Yeah.
Well, and then when he runs after him, I believe that's Mr. Gilmore's. He's barely running.
It's in slow motion. Like I believe it's Mr. Gilmore's. Yeah, that shit. Like, let's say we replace Mr. Larson with somebody who's also freakishly strong but still active.
Hulk Hogan?
No, I was saying, but you're in the right direction. I was saying let's go with a WWE guy, Mark Henry.
Okay.
The world's strongest man, who still is legit the world's strongest man, even in the years now since he's retired from wrestling.
So let's say he's like a strength and conditioning coach for the hockey team.
Yeah, and he used to work for Mr. Larson, and he was about happy. And then he has an encounter with Shooter, like some random ass encounter. The Shooter being Shooter treats him like shit, and he does some shit that's like a display of strength. Like, oh my God, not again.
And I'll see you in the parking lot.
Yeah, I'll see you in the parking lot. It's going to happen again. And then fucking Mark Henry starts showing up to the fucking golf games and shit. Sees Shooter. Shooter sees him like,
it's on.
I'll fuck you up. And that's that right there. And then we will build from there, and we'll probably have some gags and shit in there. But like, that right there, that's a narrative. That's the movie right there. And then while this happens,
of course, he starts cheating again. Yeah, he brings that guy in to try to, instead of hitting him with the car, he does something else.
But then, like, what happens is, let's say an old girl, Julie Bowen, because she's still hot, she's mom hot, but she's still hot. Mm-hmm. And Julie Bowen, like, they broke up because, he lost ambition. He became this, kind of
he was an asshole.
He was an asshole to her and pretty much drew her away. But it's like
that whole opening scene with the call box.
Exactly.
Fine, beat it, leave. Who needs you? I'm sorry, but I just say that when I get scared because I'm so scared of being a nobody.
But he gets on this ride. But he gets on this wave of momentum, and she wants him to get back up there again. Like, that's the whole reason she
left is because he was a burnout. Yeah. And she's always attracted to him when he's actually got purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Like most women,
when he's being his best. Yeah,
he's being his best, and that's like she doesn't want to be like a bitch to him and just leave him for that. But he's like, you're not applying yourself. I know you can be much better than this. Yeah. That's why I left. So now I'm seeing that you want to be this man again. Like freaking like, I'll come back. You know what I'm saying? That kind of shit. Like fucking support you and plus like she's still a PR person. So she might be working for like the PGA full time, like the head of PR or some shit like that. Mm-hmm.
She could be a vice president. Hell, she could be the new head of the PGA.
Exactly, and then
that point,
and then she has, because she's a big thinker. She was always a big thinker in the first movie. Mm-hmm. She could be like, we got the grudge match to end all grudge matches: Shooter McGavin versus Happy Gilmore. 30 years later.
Maybe what it is he sees her again. He's trying to get back with her, but she's not having it. She's like, look, I can't go down that again. I wasted, some of my best years on you, broke my heart, blah, 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 I can't do it. Mm-hmm. And he's still trying to get back with her, and then that's where he gets the love interest payoff at the end. And he's finally he's
doing like little lovey-dovey shit here and there.
Of course.
To kind of like woo her back or whatever. Some of it's not going, but she appreciates the effort. Like, like she sees.
Eventually he wears her down.
Yeah, she sees that spark, that, led her to him in the first place. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And then, of course, there's the big payoff, of course, at the end, where, they go at one-on-one, and, of course, Happy gets him again.
Yeah.
And then we got,
despite Shooter cheating, it don't work out.
And we gotta make it different for him getting beaten up. Let's say he pisses off Happy Gil, he pisses off Mark Henry. That'd be an obvious one. But let's say let's go in a different direction in terms of what he gets.
What he does to cheat.
No, what he does to cheat, and also what his comeuppance is. Because like he got beat up. He just got beat up in the last one. Let's say he angers like Oh, I got one. What if he angers like you know they have that like female golf thing, the lesbians thing in golf?
Yeah.
What if he angers some butch ass lesbians?
That's interesting.
And they whoop his ass.
Well, and then actually we can swing it back around, right? So his comeuppance, instead of getting his ass whooped, he gets caught on an open mic. And then your cancel culture we were talking about before swings back around, he's done.
Yeah.
Because he gets caught on open mic saying some bad shit about lesbian golfer or something like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe also kind of even alluding to being a cheater. And like whatever it was he does in this one to cheat.
Yeah.
He kind of says that, and then on top of it says, something homophobic.
And Shooter McGavin not only has lost the tournament, but he's been released from whatever.
From the PGA. He's got to go off into the sunset alone and broke. That's how you pitch a movie.
That's how you pitch a movie right there, buddy. that was a good one, dude.
This is good, man.
This is good.
This
is
is
fucking
fun.
dope. All right, so those were really the main ones. You wrote a bunch of other ones, but I was like, whatever.
Well, so I threw out a bunch of different
Yes, you did.
ideas because I wanted to give you stuff to choose from. I don't want to just be like, hey, we're going to do these two.
Okay, but I
don't know which one's gonna hit for you. I'm just trying to churn some stuff. I mean, like one of the ones that, talking golf, right? Threw Caddyshack in there, but fuck, man.
Okay, but yeah, like
you can't do Caddyshack without Rodney.
Yeah, I know. But we're kind of like running towards the end here, so I just want to throw out the other ones that you did throw out.
Okay.
So just real quick, Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon, either an origin story or where he is now. They did something similar to that.
Did
already.
they? I missed that.
They did National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2 with Cousin Eddie and his family.
Dude, I didn't see that. I gotta watch that.
Nobody did. But yeah, it's
how was it?
I've only seen the cover of it in certain stills or whatever, but
I'm gonna find it.
Other than that, I heard nothing of it.
I will watch it. He's one of my favorite characters in the Western canon.
But yeah, it's it's literally called National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie, some shit like that. All right, so the other one you pitched to me was Predator Origin, why he chose Earth.
I know they played around it a little bit on
the
images, but
they've done it like a little bit. Like they did a lot of it in like.
But you'd have to do a POV, and that gets really weird because he doesn't really. Have language.
Yeah, but like I said, he did a lot of it. But they did a lot of that stuff in the Alien versus Predator thing in terms of like why do you do this kind of. So
which I never appreciated that.
Yeah, so they did a little bit of that in that movie. That's why I didn't go with that one. And the other one is the Goonies sequel reboot, but they're already doing that right now.
I didn't hear about that.
They're doing the Goonies sequel.
A sequel or as a reboot?
They said sequel. Because they brought back a lot of the original cast, Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, Corey Feldman, people like that. So they've done that, or they're in the process of doing that. So I didn't want to go that route.
I wish I'd have brought back Robert.
Robert Davi. Yeah. And what's the other?
Is it Davi or Davi? I never know how you're supposed to pronounce
it. It's Davi. Because I watched some of the behind the scenes things. I always pronounce it Davi. And
I should know. I met the guy.
Yeah, that would be nice. I haven't met him.
Look, I will say because I've been fortunate, and the few people I've been able to meet, he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
You told me that.
He's super fucking talented too. He's actually a singer.
Yeah, I know. He does like standards and stuff, right?
Yeah, in fact, he works out of New York primarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should go to like some of these other celebrities out here do like open mics and or like shows like that. Like Peter Weller does one out here. I know Jeff Goldblum does one because like a lot of my Facebook friends have met fucking Jeff Goldblum, and he's like at these like concerts that he does in Hollywood.
Have you been to the Comedy Store?
I haven't been in a long time. I've
never been. I want to go.
The last time I was there, a friend of mine performed. He passed away this year actually, and he was a stand-up comic in Montgomery, Alabama. Well, from Montgomery, Alabama, named Jose Cooks. Great guy. We hooked up. We knew each other in junior high and high school. Thing about it is we didn't become friends till after. And he was a Belserverse member. And whenever he would come out here to L.A., he would work out at certain places. Like he worked out at the Ha Ha Cafe in North Hollywood. And then the last time I saw him, he worked out in I think one of the rooms in the Comedy Store, and I went to go see him, and he was great. And like I said, that's the last time I was there. But I've been to the Comedy Store. I've been to the Laugh Factory, places like that. But Comedy Store is cool. A little cramped, very cramped.
Well, see, and that's part of. So here's the thing, because I've been listening to, you know me, like I said, I'm huge on stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
From what I hear from different comics and people that I listen to, different podcasts, things like that. Comedy Store is one of the best. A lot of these guys, like Joe Rogan, referred to as like the gym, right? Like where they like to go and work out and do a lot of that stuff. And it's because of two things. One, I mean, they have I can't remember what they call them, the gig bags or whatever it is. You put your phone in, so you don't have to worry about people who, downloading your shit and putting it out there in the public before it's ready. And two, you get huge names come in, and because of the size of the room, depending on which one you end up in, I think the belly room is the smaller one if I remember right, but one of the rooms is slightly bigger than the others. But they were saying it's the main room where they a lot of those bigger names end up doing their workups. It's about the perfect size for a stand-up gig because you're only looking at a couple hundred people. Right. Because anything bigger than that, like once you start doing arenas, like you get to Kevin Hart's and stuff like that, it's hard to tell really how well you do or don't have the audience, because especially by the time you're doing something that big, who was it? There was I think it might have been Steve Martin I heard talking about it, and he was saying that when you get big enough, all you have to do is come out and say hi, and if you say it with a little bit of an inflection, people laugh. Yeah. So you don't even know if it's good, right? But when you get in those smaller rooms, if your timing's just slightly off, or you flub a line or something like that, it lays there like a dead fish, and you just have to either acknowledge it or not. But either way, you got to keep pushing through and see where you got to get. So I would love to be able to go, because I'm such a fan, just experience that process with these guys that are heavyweights in the business, and just experience it.
Well, one of the places that we like to frequent in terms of cigar bars is the V Cut off of Melrose, and they are right next, pretty much 2 stores down from the Improv. Yep. So they have a lot of people working out there. A lot of big names there. I think last time I was there was a couple days ago, and I saw there's a headline as Dion Cole. Okay. So yeah. So what I'm thinking, if you want to go that route, because, like I said, the comedy store is too cramped for me. So what we could do is we could hang out at the V Cut one night and then just walk over to the Improv. Okay.
I mean, look, my thing is, and even if you don't want to do it, I got to do it because being the fan of stand-up comedy that I am, the amount of history between the Laugh Factory, which I still need to go to as well. Yeah. And I don't know if he's listening or not, but my buddy Flobo, I'm sorry I missed you at the Laugh Factory. I will be there the next time. I was stuck out of town. Okay. But I've got to go to both those places because they are. I mean, it's like going to Gracetown. Yeah. Graceland, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to both of them. The Laugh Factory is bigger and a lot more spacious. Excuse me. But I've been there on what they call Chocolate Sundays, where they showcase.
That's where my buddy Flobo was at.
Where they showcase black comedians. And last time I went, they always have a special guest. Last time I went, the special guest was Tony Rock. And then I stayed for another show, and then the special guest was Dane Cook. Apparently, Dane Cook is someone like a semi-permanent
regular.
Yeah, semi-permanent registry there. He's always there.
He's in residence.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, the other one I always hear Joe Rogan talking about, I guess a bunch of guys do, is the Ice House.
Yeah, that's in Pasadena.
Yeah, I've never been out there. Have you been to that one?
I've heard of it. I've never actually been there myself. A lot of friends that I know do stand up have performed at the Ice House.
We've got to hit some of these ones around, and then maybe do a podcast that's just about stand up.
I'm down with that
because I'm on board with that. I mean, it's one of those things I wish I'd spent a little more time in my youth, but I was broke as shit, so I couldn't.
Likewise.
The only way I could have gotten any of those places would have been if I could have talked to him and let me be a doorman.
But yeah, like a lot of those places, particularly the comedy stores, like I said, I love Comedians and Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. They did a whole episode where I won't say a whole episode, but there's a portion of the episode where him and Gary Shandling went back to the comedy store and discussed their time there. And this is right before Gary passed. And
who was freaking unstoppable.
Yeah, and then you go in the room and you see all the pictures, and you see pictures of young Seinfeld, and then apparently there's multiple pictures of Gary Shandling.
I believe it.
Yeah, and his name is in one of the neon things or whatever. So yeah, apparently Gary was very big at the comedy store. And then
the stories those guys have at the comedian bar outside.
Yeah, and then they said they were telling stories about stuff where I think Gary tells one story where he's working in the main room. He's he's doing stand up or whatever, and he's going in on some dude that's standing in front of him. He's he looks to the guys look, I apologize, okay? Usually whoever's in front of the mic stand, I usually go at, you know what I'm saying? So what I want you to do is you can go ahead and move over here, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the show. So the guy moves, Gary takes the mic stand, moves him right in front of the guy, and goes at him again. And then another great story he tells is he's doing a set, and some new waitress girl, apparently because there's a section right in front of the stage where people are sitting in front of them, and they had the drinks and shit like that. So some new waitress couldn't reach a particular customer, so she gets on stage and gives the person their drinks. So while this is happening, Gary stops what he's doing, just staring at it and shit, and everybody's just dying laughing. Like, what the? Because I'm sitting there like,
he's just making a face out.
What
like,
the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm literally doing my act right now. And then another thing where Letterman was talking about doing actually a lot of guys, Letterman, Leno, all have like comedy store stories.
Yeah.
And like apparently like back in the 70s, one of the main guys in terms of like the stand-ups that everybody liked or the stand-ups that everybody like gravitated to was Jay Leno.
Well,
even
fact,
Letterman.
I've heard his name and the stuff that he used to do stand-up. Well, still does stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy that I know from my cigar club in L.A. Who became a writer. He was a stand-up for a little bit, but he was telling me that I guess Jay Leno saw him at something, liked him, so he had him opening for him. I can't remember if it was a Comedy Store or Laugh Factory. It was one of these ones in town, and he said Jay Leno doesn't do the same material twice.
Yeah, I've heard
every
that too.
day he sits down, he writes new stuff, a lot of topical stuff, which was great for the Tonight Show, and then he goes out and does a brand new set, throws it away, starts over again the next day. And I mean, of all the guys out there, because I know there's the late night wars, people talk about him, Letterman, blah 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 blah, all that shit back and forth. Yeah, there's very few people I've heard of in stand up that have the same work ethic
as Jay Leno.
That guy, he is committed to the craft and starting from scratch over and over again. Because most comedians, you find something that works, and maybe there's some here, and and that's why I was saying I want to go and watch some of these guys essentially work out and figure out where the funny is in the material and put all this stuff together. They spend a year, 2, 3 years. They do a special. They go out. They shoot it. It's over. Now it's start over.
You know what would be a dope thing that would happen? Because I've heard that he wanted to do this. Like Eddie is talking about working like LA clubs at the beginning of the coming year.
Dude.
But he's not going to announce when he's going to do it because obviously that would be like too much
pressure. It'd be swamped.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be dope. Like we plan on doing it anyway. It would be so dope if we happen to be there one of the nights that Eddie is working out.
Any idea which?
I know. Well, when he did his comedians and cars did coffee, they went to the Improv.
So the one over by the V-Cut?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that'd be
that's
cool.
That's exactly why I brought it up, because I'm like, there is a possibility
that we could get to see Eddie Murphy working out.
Exactly.
I'm on board with that.
Exactly, man. But yeah, like all those different places like that. And like I said, Letterman was talking about like he would purposely, like him and other comedians would purposefully try to get on after Richard Pryor. Because of the fact they know, like, hey, my material works if I can follow Richard. Because, like he said, the Comedy Store and those places like that all but burned down after Richard.
Well, but does it really work then if you have to have Richard open?
No, no, but it's pretty much like because you got to corral people to kind of keep them to stay or whatever. And if your stuff can at least keep them in the room after Richard does his thing.
You and I have talked about it before. Mm-hmm. Dave Chappelle, I don't know if he still has it, but for the longest time, he had the world record, and I think he might still have it, for the longest stand-up set, which was over 6 hours. Yeah. And I believe it was the Comedy Store. It was either the Comedy Store or the Laugh Factory. I can't remember which one.
I think it was the Comedy Store.
But he just showed up one night, got on stage. He started at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. Last call, as we know in L.A., is 2. Yeah. Nobody left. He didn't finish till 4. Damn. And one of the other things was noteworthy of it was right after the famous Michael Richards incident.
Oh yeah.
And the owners of the club had instituted a new policy where it was a fine. It was like $20 for every time you dropped the N-word. Yeah. And he went off on the owners for about 40 minutes just on that policy, and he racked up some ridiculous amount of fines in the thousands, just trashing them for making that a fine.
And it's just funny. It'd be funny the one person who just counted all the N-words and shit like, oh my god.
No, whose job was that?
Yeah, whose job was that just to count all of them? Yeah.
So they start doing with your fingers, and eventually like, shit, man, I gotta start doing tick marks.
Damn, Dave. Yeah. But I remember somebody.
Shit, this is a Jay-Z album.
I believe it was like either Chappelle or Chris Rock were talking about the Michael Richards thing. He's like, as a black man, completely outraged, was ridiculous. As a comedian, bad night at the office. So
Well, that's the one thing that's always scared me to death about the concept of ever doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Is it, and not that I would break down into a racist tirade.
Watch your finger.
But rather that I'm lighting my pipe, so he's helping me out as I'm distracted talking about this.
Yeah, I don't want him to burn his finger while he's talking to you.
No, but it's handling hecklers.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. I think that's the thing that scares most people when it comes to public speaking.
That's the one thing that deterred me from stand-up, because I actually had to deal with that on the one and only time I did stand-up, and I was not prepared.
When did you do stand-up?
I did it like years ago, like around the time I first started doing improv and sketch and shit. Well, like when I first decided, I'm going to be an actor for real. Man. So the first route I tried in terms of wanting to get my feet wet was stand-up. And I did it at some little, I'm not going to name the club, some little club in Anaheim, because I'm afraid somebody will have the fucking footage. But if there is footage. But like, I just did it like at an open mic in some little club in Anaheim, and I was awful. And I had just gone through a breakup, and I was just trying to get out some angst. And I didn't really have any jokes per se, but that was the main gist of it. My material was just like dealing with chicks and stuff like that, and then it was like a college crowd, and there's like all these people just staring the hole at you, and it's just like I don't know what it was, but I was so goddamn hot on that stage, like it's just like all these faces on you. I wasn't ready.
Was it like the Joker?
I'm pretty sure that yeah I know what you're talking about. Like it kind of I can only imagine it felt like just all these people staring daggers at you, waiting for you to make them laugh. And I had nothing to make them laugh, and it just like they just started like kind of riding me, and of course I was still in bouncer mentality at the time, because I knew if I stayed on that stage any longer than I did, I would have gotten into a fight. So I was supposed to be on there for like 5 minutes. I got maybe 2 out, and I was so disgusted and mortified by the experience. I never tried to stand up again, and I've never done it since. That was like 2010. And I haven't tried it since.
I haven't done anything acting related in probably 15, maybe almost 20 years at this point, now that I think about it. Mm-hmm. But the only time I was ever stage fright stricken, even remotely, was when I was doing something solo, like a monologue or something. Yeah. Like for whatever reason, when you're doing like improv, or you're doing a play or a scene or something where there's other people there, for me it's almost like I can trick myself into thinking there's no way everyone up there or out there is looking at me at one moment in time, even if I'm like in the middle of the monologue portion of the play. No, somebody's going to be looking at this, somebody's going to be looking at something else, and so whatever reason, it lets it roll off my back. Yeah. But when you're doing stand-up, it's you and a mic.
It's just you, and it is terrifying.
And
actually,
it's judgmental as hell.
And funny enough, my first play in LA out here was me doing a monologue. It was it was a play called The Weed Show. It was a collection of different stories, but all weed based. And my character...
Weed or weed?
Weed. Okay. Weed. Like all marijuana. Marijuana. And it was at the McKenzie Theater in Burbank. And part of it is basically all monologues. All of us have like a different character where like all of us, or different aspects of life affected by weed. My character was from like an abusive home, and he had like a little sister who he would protect and shit. And then as they got older, they started smoking weed together, and they kind of came up with their own little fantasy land because of the weed. And pretty much like they made up their own little world where their parents loved them. They were going like to Disneyland and places like that all the time, and they kind of made up their own little world smoking weed and shit. So that was my character, and then they had other characters in there like workaholics, and there's one dude that was like...
Were you on stage by yourself doing the monologue? Or was
just me.
How was that?
Not as nerve-wracking as I thought it'd be.
Is it because you already knew where you were going?
Kind of, sort of,
you could rely on the other writer. If it was bad, you could be like, I didn't write this shit.
No, I had a set monologue. I knew exactly what I was going. Okay. I did my thing, and it wasn't fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. And a lot of people from that show are still my friends at this point, and actually a few of them are actually in Belserverse. Oh. So, if you see there's one guy, Brian Shakti, you'll see like a bunch of comments or posts from him. He's one of them.
Shout out to Brian.
Shout out to Brian, man. Yeah, and so I had like that little experience to stand up, but it helped me out because it let me know that that's not my forte. So you go back to the drawing board. You try to think, what would you like to do? And then I was looking at like books on like people from SNL, and one thing that kept popping up was like Second City, or like improv places.
Yep.
Second City, Groundlings, UCB, and I was thinking to myself, let's try improv. I was like, and then I was watching like I had like a bender of like watching Who's Line.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, shit, I can do this. I love this.
That's
kind of
like
stuff.
a master's course in improv.
Yes, it is. And then
I actually have a friend who's working behind the scenes. I can't remember. I think she was she's a production manager or production coordinator or something, but she was telling me, because I didn't know how they did it, they'll rent a soundstage, because they just shot, this was been about 2 years ago, so I don't know how many they've done since then, but what they'll do is they'll set up their whatever soundstage, set up with the audience, and they'll shoot the whole season in like 4 days.
Yeah, I know.
Because they'll just run for hours and hours. They'll just refresh the audience to make sure they got fresh eyes in there, and they just go.
But you can notice that because you see them like on certain episodes. They're just like, they're wearing the same clothes over and over again. Like, why is he wearing the same jacket? Like you see it.
Well, you watch the old ones with Wayne Brady, and it's like he's been wearing that blue polo for every episode.
Or like the orange one. Yeah, like.
But it's always like it's primary colors and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And in recent years, they've adapted newer people, so it's like Keegan-Michael Key and Naima Funk. And now one thing they've incorporated now is they have like I said, they had guest stars from like a lot of the CW shows, kind of cross promoting CW. So they have people from like Vampire Diaries, and they've had a bunch of people from like The Flash and Arrow and shows like that. And then even top of that, because like Aisha Taylor was the host, so they have people from like what's that shit, the talk show she did, The Talk or The Real or whatever. Yeah. So like what's the name? Cheryl Underwood did one. They had like a bunch of other people. Tamara Mowry, she's done one. And then like people like that, people that worked with Aisha Tyler before. You know what I'm saying? So and then they mentioned her being on Friends a bunch, and because she was like one of the two black people in the universe of Friends. It's her and Gabrielle Union, I believe.
Yeah,
it's her.
Well, I think that's still more black people than were on Seinfeld.
True. Well, the only black person I remember on Seinfeld was Sonny Childs, the lawyer.
That's what I'm saying.
That was the only one I remember who was Johnny Cochran. Rip out Johnny Cochran. Phil Morris, that actor, I love that guy. He's also one of the guys who's done CW shows, because he was like a Martian Manhunter on Smallville for a couple years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's another one of those guys, man. But freaking so like I said, it led me to the improv thing, and then I was looking at. I was still staying in San Diego at the time, so I was looking at any places in San Diego. There were like none, really.
Yeah, San Diego's. It's known for the Navy SEALs and for,
basically
for Comic-Con. That's about it.
They didn't develop really a bunch. They have a couple groups now, but they didn't really develop them until after I started already. So I found one in Sherman Oaks called the LA Connection Comedy Theater, founded by Kent Scove, and they used to do a show on Nick at Night called Mad Movies or Movie Madness, I believe is the name of it. But it's basically like, how they do the thing where they'll watch like old movies and like they'll voice over the people doing improv. They would do that shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they founded the LA Connection, and that's how I started. And like I said,
how did you end up at TMI?
TMI is actually because of a friend of mine, a female friend, Sarah Berger. She was actually one of the people I was at the school with at the LA Connection, and we became friends. And she and her roommate Kelly Shanley, who's also a stand-up comedian out here, would invite me to like parties and stuff like that. Okay. And a lot of the people there were actors. You know what I'm saying? Most of them. That's how I kind of made my connections through those parties. And she ended up on the show TMI Hollywood. I've been looking for like a sketch show to be in, because my first show I was in out here as a sketch show was one called the Greatest Hits Variety Show. It was at the Second City in Hollywood, and it was a fun show. I'm still friends with most of the people in the cast, and I've worked with them since. And after that, I really didn't have anything going for me, so I was looking at like different shows. Like there's like ones that like all black shows and all this stuff. Trying to see if I could find one, and Sarah and a bunch of the other people I met at the parties would give me Facebook invites to TMI Hollywood. So I would get like 10 Facebook invites to TMI. I was like, you know what? Fuck, I'll go see TMI. So I went there, and I loved the show. I fell in love with the show. I loved the writing, and I was like, oh, this is really funny. And like I said, so many of my friends are in the show. I would come to like a bunch of shows, and then I would hang out with them in the after party and shit. And I would tell them, hey, I'm an actor. I'm looking, you know what I'm saying, do a show like this. I would love to do a show like this. Like, are y'all holding castings and shit? And like, yeah, we're holding castings. So I went to the first little round of casting, and I didn't make it the first time because they wanted to go with more females. But they always kept me in mind because I kept coming around and shit. And finally, after being a TMI groupie for a little while, but I know what happened.
Persistence.
What happened was they apparently some guy they had backed out at last minute, and they were short a guy, and it was like, hey, we a bunch of the other people been talking about you because I knew a lot of the cast members. Like a bunch of the people told, hey, you should use this guy, you should use this guy. Like, hey, we're short a guy. We want you to come through and fill in for him, and if it works out, because you already auditioned for us, you just join the cast straight away. So I did that, nice. And I've been with the cast now for about 2 or 3 years.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I started.
Well, look, I mean, what I was going to say before about trying stand-up and all that, kudos to you for trying something new.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it doesn't work out, at least now you know that's not what you need to do.
Exactly. So I found enough.
You found improv, and you're making your way.
Improv and sketch, and I love that so much more because I get to play characters, which is what I always wanted to do anyway. So, like I said, like things happen for a reason, man. Like it leads you, like one path might not work out, so you go with another one, and you make it work.
I was watching. My dad sent me this video. It's like I think it's Paul. I don't know. It was Steve Harvey motivation or something like that. Mm-hmm. But Steve was talking about basically like the most seminal moment in his career, and it's a great video. In fact, I'll see if I can find it, put it up on the Droppin' That Culture Facebook page. Mm-hmm. But he's talking about he's broke, he's living in his car, he's about ready to quit. He calls to his house basically to try to maybe see if he's going to talk to his dad or whatever, but checks his voicemail because back then, or I should say answering machine, pops in his code, and he's got a message from this guy telling him, hey, we'd love to sing your tape, think you're funny, we'd love to have you up here at the Apollo. See you on Sunday if you're available. Yeah. And he was like, man, shit, I don't know if I can make it, because he had $30 to his name and he's in Florida. Yeah. And this is way back when, but you still can't get a flight up there for that amount of money. And then he got to think himself, did he mean this Sunday or next Sunday? So he dials back into his answer machine to see if he said this Sunday or that next Sunday. There's a message on there from a club owner in Jacksonville saying, hey, we'd love to have you come out Thursday night. It was either Thursday night or Friday night, whichever one it was. Give you $150 for the night. Have you come do a show. So he shows up, goes and does the show. Still doesn't know what he's going to be able to do if he can make it. Kills, just absolutely kills. They say, hey, the guy we're going to have tomorrow night dropped out. You did a great job. Why don't you come back tomorrow night and do another $150? Nice. So now he went from having $35 to having $335. He said in that time, he could get a round-trip flight to New York for $99. Nice. For Eastern Airlines, which doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So he said he calls him up, tells him, hey, I'll be there. He says, I show up. I got my 2 bags. It's literally everything I own in my hand. I show up at noon. I don't go on until 10 o'clock at night. Well, comedians don't go on until 10 o'clock at night. And he's talking to the guy over there. He's like, hey, man, is there any chance that, I can hang out? He says, no, you can't hang out here. Get the hell out. We got stuff going on. I said, man, literally everything I own is in these 2 bags. Is there anywhere that I can sit? I won't bother no one. I won't do nothing. They put him upstairs on the 6th floor where the dressing rooms were for the comedians. Said, I don't want to see you. You just stay up here. Long story short, he ends up waiting up there. While he's waiting, he ends up meeting D.L. Hughley. Comes through a little bit later. Jamie Foxx comes through. Talks to him, and Steve, blah, blah, blah. They go on before him. D.L. Hughley gets booed off stage. Jamie Foxx gets up. He starts doing his act. They start booing. He starts playing some music. They calm down. He goes back to trying to do his act. They boo him off stage. So he said, I'm about ready to throw up. I finally go out on stage, and he was doing this bit about, I can't remember the guy's name, but he just got fucked up by Mike Tyson a couple nights before.
Mitch Bloodgreen?
Yeah, his eye was still fucked up when he did the interview. Yeah, Mitch Bloodgreen. He said that whole thing about his eye talking, so he had this whole bit about that. Goes out and kills. Yeah. Absolutely kills. Goes back down to Florida. He's doing his thing. He gets a call a little bit later on and says, hey, you did a good job. And this is, I can't remember who it was. There had been a couple of guys in between who had come in and done the hosting
I believe Sinbad was one of them.
Sinbad was one of them, and then he got his show and he left. And then what's his name from Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
Mark Curry.
Yeah, Mark Curry was doing it. He got that and he left. So they brought him up and said, "Hey, we'll just basically use you as an interim host. We'll see how you do."
Yeah.
He ended up being the longest running host of Showtime at the Apollo before he left. His whole world changed.
Yeah.
Going from I'm living in my car, I'm broke as shit,
to hosting Showtime at the Apollo
for longer than anyone in the history of the show. And now he's got, the career that he's got.
That's the first thing I remember him from, was Showtime at the Apollo, because they were showed on our Fox affiliate.
Yeah.
And he actually tells a great story on that, on the comedians and cars. He was talking about, like, he was on doing the Showtime at the Apollo, and another comedian, young comedian who was nobody, came up to him like, "Hey man, I get a standing ovation everywhere I go. Like, you see my stuff?" I was like, "Nah," but like, you're like, "All right, but I'm good, man. I'm great. Like, I get a standing ovation everywhere." He kept saying that to Steve. Like, okay, that's cool. Look, like, we've been doing a couple shows now. Like, we do like usually 4 shows, in a single taping or whatever. So they've been out there for a little while. So what I want you to do, whatever your hottest thing is, I want you to open with that, and then just settle, and then you should be fine. And he's like, "Nah, man, I can stay in ovation where I go. Trust me, man." And then like and then he goes out there.
Steve Harvey.
And he's like, okay, so he goes out there, does his thing, and the first thing he says was, "Hey, anybody here live with a girl that got roaches?" And he's like, "Bro, you in Harlem." And he said the booing was as vicious as I has ever seen. And the dude was trying his best. Like, he said, "Hey, hold on, come on." Like, he was like, "Nah." They was like, "Nah, boo, boo." He said they tore him to pieces. He said he doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. I mean, even if you've got some talent, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're a stand-up god, right? You're still gonna have bad shows.
Yes.
And you know what? If you're able to get a standing ovation some places, you keep with it. And if you've got that heart for it, you got to keep with it. But if you try it, you realize it's not for you.
Yeah.
Let that shit go. Find what is for you.
Yeah.
Because his whole message of that whole video, like I said, I hope people watch it when they see it. You haven't lost until you quit. If you quit, that's guaranteeing that whatever that is,
it will never happen.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But if it's something you want, just keep trying a different way. You never know when God's going to drop something in your lap.
Yeah, that's basically what I've been doing on, like, and in terms of the acting standpoint, man. Like, I've been, for years now, I do like little things to kind of pep myself up, because it's a lot of dry spells, especially for a young actor. Like, and like I try the best I can, especially because I got a regular job and all this other stuff. But like, I just try little things to just keep myself in the right frame of mind, do the best I can whenever I go in for audition. Actually, I'm on audition tomorrow morning for a show, and we'll see how that goes. And also, a couple quotes I usually take with me when I go for auditions. One is from Steve Martin, and he said, one question he gets asked a lot is, like, how do you make it in the show business? That constant question that they ask successful people. Yep. He said the one thing I could tell anybody is, be so good that they can't ignore you. Yep. That's one. And then the other one I like that really struck with me was from Wendy McClendon-Covey, who was on the mom on the Goldbergs, and she was the chick Clemmy, the big titty chick on Reno 911. Oh yeah, yeah, her. And
which you saw they're bringing that back.
Yes,
quick aside.
Yes, I'm happy about that.
Me too.
Yeah, but so they're doing that thing, and friggin', she said a quote on, I believe it was on the Nerdist podcast, and they said like, casting directors do not know what they want until you show them. Yep. So I usually take those with me. I try not to have a preconceived notion. Just do the best you can with the material that you are given, and just try to kill it, man. Try to see what you can do to add whatever it is you are, whatever it is you do to that thing. And the best thing I found in auditions is, like, if the casting director or somebody says, like, "Hey, could you do it again, like in this certain way?" And then they try to ask you to do it in different ways and shit. The fact that they asking you to do it because they want to test you, they want to see what your range is and see how far they can take you, is like, okay. And that right there is a good light bulb moment right there, because they keep asking you to stay and they keep asking you to do stuff. And I found when that happens, I usually get the gig.
Well, and something I'll tell you, because I've been on the other side of the table since I've been out here more often than not. Every actor who goes into an audition, because if you're auditioning, it means they, like when we were sitting here casting this shit before, we're pulling out names that we know for lead spots, because once you hit a certain level, that's the way it usually gets done.
Yes.
But when you're going into audition for something, you're at a disadvantage from the very beginning because you're trying to be something from somebody else's imagination. Mm-hmm. So, like she said, they don't know what they want until they see it. Yeah, to some extent, but what they're really looking for is somebody who can walk out and be a character that they've been reading and thinking about for months, weeks, maybe years. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, this is the most important part, is this somebody who has enough of an acting background, enough of the command of their instrument that they can actually take direction.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than getting someone and going, okay, this is the right look.
Yeah.
And then they can't take direction.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be combative or they're going to be challenging with it. Because, if you're going to make a movie or a TV show, you can be getting into months or years of your life if it picks up on something. So you want to find someone, one, that has the talent to carry it, and two, that you're going to like working with. And some of that you won't know until you get into it as far as the like working with them part.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think was freeing is when you realize at the end of the day, you can't be anything other than what you are.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I can't walk in the door and be Brad Pitt or Wesley Snipes or anybody else like that. I don't have, number one, the range. I don't look anything like them. I don't sound anything like them. I'm never going to be that person for them. I'm trying to do it.
I can see you as Wesley.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's a certain wall that everybody has they can't get past. Mm-hmm. And if they're even looking at you, just go in and do your best part of it. And I think it's almost freeing, too, to realize that the biggest part of it is out of your hands.
Yeah.
And that is, can you be something from someone else's imagination? And what she's saying there, they don't know what they want until they see it. Change their imagination. Go in there and do your best part. And if it hits it good enough, it might not matter that you're not what they were looking for. They'll go,
I like that.
Oh, shit, that's even better.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
And if not, you're either going to be their imagination or you won't. And that's completely out of your control.
True. Yeah. All right.
So anyway, with that, I think we'll probably wrap this up because we're chasing down our longest episode again, which just means we've been having a hell of a good time.
How long is this?
I think we're looking at about 2.5 hours. Thanks for listening.
Now, the last one was 3, but we're close. We're pretty close.
Hey, look, we're having fun with it.
Yeah,
actually, one thing we didn't start off this one, which fantastic. Want to tell everyone how stoked and excited we are. We're over 100 downloads now. So it's a good little milestone for us. Keep it going. We're glad you're enjoying it.
Woo!
And we'll keep cruising with it.
Damn right, man.
This has been Dropping That Culture with
JD
and AJ.
All right, you folks have a good night and have a Merry Christmas.
We'll see you next time.